The world of Arnor is changed. Founded by Elendil, Arnor was a place of greatness, where the wisdom of kings was matched by the sight of the Palantiri, seeing stones of great power. Elendil forged the alliance with Gil-galad and the elves of Lindon, who together, in the Second Age, defeated the Dark Lord Sauron. But, deep in the heart of Mount Doom, the alliance failed, and Isildur led humanity down a different, darker path. Many centuries have passed, and through folly and civil war, much that once was is lost. Arnor stands divided into 3 kingdoms: Arthedain, Cardalon, and Rhudaur. We, the elves, do not interfere. We are but the keepers of the shards of Narsil, a reminder of the alliance that remains as broken as the sword. Now there are rumors of a new power rising in the north, whispers of a sorcerer king who has subjugated the land of Angmar under his iron crown. Orcs and trolls roam the Etten moors, and there is talk of darker things. There is still hope. King Arvedui of Arthedain seeks to reunite the 3 kingdoms, but he is not the hope of which I speak. It is of heroes whose names are not yet known, whose deeds cannot change the past, but may yet shape the fortunes of those yet to come.
Welcome to TPK Roleplay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Phzoul, and this is TPK Roleplay's The One Ring campaign, Shadow Over Arnor. I believe this is episode 4. I hope everyone's had a great 2022, or at least 2022 is off to a good start. Tonight, we will be using the One Ring rules published by Free League, which I think is available now. No real warnings other than to say that whenever I write an adventure, I like to use the films as my kind of guideposts. So if you were okay with the Hobbit movies, the Lord of the Rings movies, then you're going to be okay with this adventure tonight. So in the One Ring rules, normally the Fellowship has a patron. That could be Saruman or Gandalf or Tom Bombadil or any one of those, but you are the Fellowship's patron, and you can help them out in a couple of different ways by contributing bits. So 100 bits can give some healing, 500 bits can give them some extra hope. Hope is kind of an important currency in the game that gives them bonuses to rolls. For 1,000 bits, you can increase if you're evil or decrease if you're good, the threat level of the Eye of Angmar. If that gets too high, essentially Angmar will unleash a hunt onto the characters. For 2,000 bits, you can give a character of your choice a permanent reward in the form of a virtue or a gift. For 5,000 bits, it's a special good encounter. I'll just let you know, it's funny because I did this in the Altered Carbon campaign with the pink backpack. It always amazes me how these things change the game. So for example, we had a good encounter in the very first session with Radagast the Brown. That introduced 2 rabbits, which have been a part of the Fellowship for the entire journey. And even tonight, there's going to be something associated with Radagast that's going to give the characters a pretty significant boon. And I would never have thought of any of these things if it wasn't for that contribution. Now, if you want to help me out, the GM, then you can, for 10,000 bits, you can purchase a special bad encounter. At the end of the last session, we saw the appearance of the Witch King. I've really had to put my thinking cap on since I've already put probably one of the biggest baddies on the board that I can think of. I've had to really think about what will I do if a bad encounter happens. Well, there's only one way to find out. So just a very quick recap for the cast. I know it's been I think it's been 4 weeks since our last session, but so during the last episode, before our fellowship was reunited, Celebrian discovered that a host of orcs with their eye on the watchtower of Amon Sul had been assembled at Kameth Bryn. Fenja, Dania, and Alatar, they stood against 3 of the 9 Nazgul in an attempt to save Prince Arnor. But what cut deeper than any Morgul blade was the revelation that Arnor, in fact, was not the son of Arvedui, but of Targon, a knight of the Citadel. So, with the enemy in pursuit, the Fellowship reached the gates of Fornost just as the Witch King of Angmar revealed himself astride a giant bat. But before we dive in, let's go around and meet our amazing cast. So I guess we'll do overlay order, maybe starting with you, Kaiya.
Hello, I'm Kaiya, and I am playing Celebrian tonight.
Hello, I'm Harrison, and I'm playing Alatar the Blue.
It's me, Corndog. I am playing Fenja.
Hi, I'm Lukalock, and I am playing Dania of Arthedain.
Welcome, everyone. So I believe the last image that I had put up, as I mentioned, was the Witch King of Angmar. But you've reached the gates of Fornost. So as your horses ride past, you did feel the oppressive weight of the shadow kind of fall over you. I believe I had given you 3 shadow points. If you weren't keeping track, don't worry, because we will deal with our shadow points in a second. But shadow points essentially in this game can lead to your character being miserable or losing hope. So as you pass the gates, they're quickly closed shut behind you. Archers rush to the walls, but the Witch King does not pursue. His bat-like beast, lets out a mournful cry of despair as it has been robbed of a meal. The Witch King himself says nothing, just glares, filling the hearts of all those upon the walls with dread. And with that, the beast takes to the air and flies off to the north. Dania, you're home. For everyone else, this is the capital of Arthedain, one of the 3 kingdoms that used to form the greater kingdom of Arnor. Of course, the knights and soldiers and attendants, they surround you quickly, and of course, Dania, you're the princess here, so you literally, at a word, have hundreds of people at your beck and call.
I will immediately direct that whoever is in charge to make sure that soldiers are at the ready in case more are coming with the Witch King, and then say I need to speak to my father and begin writing for...
Yeah, so they will take your horses. They'll be well cared for. And as soon as you say you wish to speak to your father, I mean, there is no door that is barred to you here. So you are immediately being brought to the Great Hall. Omar and Dith, they kind of hop up and down, and they're like, should we guard the wall, sir? They'll say to Alatar. Actually, to be honest, this is the first time they've been reunited. The first thing they do is hug each other, flop over each other. Omar accidentally knocks Dith over, and then the 2 of them start getting into a little bit of a tussle rolling around on the ground, but they pop up pretty quick and stand at attention for the Blue Wizard.
All in good time.
And so one of the things, so I mentioned shadow. So here's one of the things that I'm going to do. So your shadow just keeps building, and you can get rid of it by reaching a fellowship, by reaching a safe haven, where essentially you're able to rest. This is a safe haven, but I'm doing something a little bit different. So I'm going to reduce all of your shadow to essentially down to 1. And basically, I'm giving you 1 shadow scar, it's called. So at any point in the game, you can decide, I'm going to get rid of my shadow and just reduce it to 1, so it's not going to influence my rolls. But this is a permanent burden that I'm going to carry with me until I can get rid of it. And that burden, that shadow scar for each of you, is the secret that Prince Arnor is not, in fact, the heir of Isildur. So you will carry that until the truth comes out, if it comes out. I'm not saying you have. That's completely up to you as to how you're going to handle that. But for as long as your character carries that secret, you will carry this shadow scar. All right, so you are rushed off to the throne room. When you arrive, you'll see King Arvedui sitting on the throne. At his side, Solmundr, the Silver-Tongued, and of course, Dania, your mother, Queen Furiel. Accompanying you is Faristan, Aranath, and Targon of Gondor. So as soon as you come in, you see the look of relief on the face of your mother, Dania. On the face of your father, you initially see a look of relief, but then it sours when he looks upon your company, and in your mind you realize he looks upon your company and does not see Elrond of Rivendell. But your mother rushed forward.
DM, can you remind me where my brother is currently?
So your brother, burdened with the truth, could not stand before your father or the king or your mother. So he and Muriel, they rode to Amon Sul. He was going to personally take charge of the defense of Amon Sul. Yeah.
Okay.
So your father, he looks out, and as I mentioned, so your mother comes and she hesitates for a moment. It's probably not courtly to just run and hug you, but she does. She comes and gives you a hug. But you'll note that as she's hugging you, her eyes are not on you; they're on Targon. And you remember the story.
Yeah, I am just very quickly, like while I embrace her, whisper her. My brother's name is what again?
Arnor.
I want to say Arnath, but that's the ranger. So Arnor, I'm just going to very quickly whisper into her ear while I embrace her that Arnor knows, and then hug her and just release the embrace. Totally passive faced.
Your mother has served in the court of Gondor and the court of Arvedui. She does not her face is stoic. She does not betray the emotions that you imagine she must be feeling.
I trusted her to be discreet. I just wanted to give her a heads up.
And Arvedui, he looks upon your fellowship and he is like, "Welcome home, my daughter. Although I hoped that Lord Elrond would have been in your company."
I apologize. Father, let me introduce my companions. This is Fenja of... Remind me your of... I will introduce all of my companions by their names and titles. DM... And then bow my head again. I apologize that Elrond is not here. He could not accompany us. However, I believe that we have more important matters than the party to attend to.
Your mother will actually. You can see that there's kind of a darkness on your father's face, but your mother immediately steps forward, and she, as soon as you mentioned Celebrian's name, you saw recognition in your mother's face, and she immediately steps forward towards you, Celebrian, and said, "We are deeply honored to have the Lady Celebrian as a guest in our halls, truly." And she will give a bow.
Thank you for your hospitality. My husband sends deep apologies for being unable to come, but he sent me here to you with this gift for the king. And she pulls out the box that she had been entrusted with.
Yep. And Furiel will take it and just hold on to it while the introductions, while Dania continues with the introductions. When you do get to Alatar, Solmundr will actually, after Alatar has been introduced, Solmunder the Silver Tongue, he will actually interrupt and kind of goes, indeed, many surprises. While I did not expect to see Saruman, I would have thought Gandalf would have been here. But instead, we are visited by, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Alatar. Perhaps it seems customary in these halls to be disappointed by those who bring you aid, it seems.
Oh, the Silver Tongue just got that's like a sting. So he actually takes a step back, and he gives you a subtle nod, as in, okay, you appear to be able to hold your own, at least in the court. And Fenja, when you arrive, so you would have said Fenja of Khazad-Duhm. The king will kind of look towards you, as if is there nothing more to your title? Like, actually, Solmunder might say, surely you must be an emissary of King Durin VI.
Correct. I am Fenja, daughter of Borin, brother to King Durin in Khazad-Duhm.
You can see Solmunder will lean over and whisper a few things in Arvedui's ear, and Furiel, sensing that she's kind of sensing the tension in the place. She has the gift in her hand, so she will actually reach. She'll actually step forward, and she'll go, "Husband, perhaps we should all see what Elrond has, great gift Elrond has given us." And she hands him the box, and he opens it up, and when he does, he actually throws the box. It's almost as if it's hot coals. He throws it, and it flies down the steps, and a single metallic shard that was inside it clatters kind of to the ground between you and him. And he'll actually stand. What kind of gift is this? Do you know your husband's mind for insulting me so? What? This is a shard. I was expecting a sword. When will the elves stop blaming us for Isildur's folly? Did he not pay for his mistake on the Gladden fields? He is long dead, and the ring which broke our alliance is lost forever. What purpose is it to dwell on this? The past is the past. We must look to, and all of a sudden, Furiel will step forward, and she'll say, we are all tired and strained from the day's events. Perhaps we should rest before we discuss any of this further. And she gives him a glaring stare, and you can see he will sit back on the throne. My apologies. These are dire times indeed.
I have something for you as well from Durin.
Okay, and he kind of nods as if, well, of course. And you bring out the sword?
No. No, I bring up the crown that they had made for the coronation.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're going to keep the sword yourself?
For right now, mainly because I also don't like this silver tongue fellow in the room, and I might need to impale him with it. So
he takes the crown and looks at it. What was this crown made of? I don't remember it.
Oh gosh. It was a very fine, ornate crown.
Yeah, I don't think this wasn't mithril.
I don't think so.
I think that only the sword is mithril. So he
Correct,
takes,
but it is like there's a bunch of gems in it and stuff.
Yeah, he takes it. He looks at it, and he hands it to Solmunder. I am honored, of course, but my wife is right. Perhaps we should rest and refresh ourselves before we can discuss the dire news which comes from the north. And with that, Salmander, it's up to you how you react, but aides, kind of servants come forward to kind of escort you. Obviously, you don't need to be escorted, Dania, but servants come forward and start ushering.
There was mithril, real quick. There was a mithril inset.
Oh, a mithril inset.
With jewels mined from deep under the misty mountains.
Nice. But he does not appear to be impressed by it. Perhaps
I worked hard on this.
Perhaps
oh my God, my eyebrow.
Celebrian's gift soured him to all gifts. Perhaps I don't know.
Speaking of, does that shard just like remain on the floor?
It's on the floor, and you remember in the movies how when the ring landed, it didn't bounce. It just kind of like, it's like it weighed a ton. The shard does the same thing. It's as if it's it doesn't skip or slide. It just when it comes out of the box, it hits the floor and sticks to it. Well, you will see, now it's up to you. Now the servants, you and Salmander are about an equal distance apart. You can see he sets the crown aside and he eyes the shard at about the same time you do. And he's about to move towards it, but it's we'll say it's closer to you.
And is the king still there?
He is, but he's not paying a lot of attention.
Okay. Celebrian's going to turn to Princess Dania and just say with like the smoothest inflection possible, Your Highness, please inform your father that if he does not want the gift of my lord husband, I am happy to bring it back.
I'll just kind of glance over at my father. Perhaps it is best the elves keep hold of these shards for now. And I will actually reach down before Salmander gets there and pick it up and just...
And your father, he looks at you sternly, he goes, what good is a shard in such times?
I'm just not even going to answer him and just like kind of turn back to the box. I'm a little disappointed in his sulkiness right now when we've got other problems. So I'm just going to put it back in the box and hand it back to Celebrian.
Okay. You can do so. And as people are heading, you see that your mother is disappointed as well. You can see the disappointment on her face. As everybody is kind of being dispersed, you'll see Targon will step towards her, and he's like, "My queen, I was hoping we might talk. I bring news and gifts from home." And you can see she gives him a very stern look, and there's almost ice in her words. She's like, "Need I remind you, this is my home. You should not have come." And she'll turn and kind of stride away. A lot of tension, a lot of drama, unfortunately. But and as people are you don't have to leave, but you're kind of being ushered by servants. But Arvedui will look up at you, Alatar, and he goes, "Not you, wizard. I seek your counsel." So, does everyone allow themselves to be ushered out?
Yeah, I'm going to speak to the head of the estate stuff here. What if the head
like a chamberlain?
Yeah, thank you. And just make sure that the rooms prepared for Fenja and Celebrian and Alatar are close to mine. And if they put Buffus, then I'll ask that they bake up a room for me next to theirs.
Okay.
Just because I feel like I want us to all be near each other.
They will not put up a fuss. Yep, they will comply with your instructions, and everyone leaves. So if everyone leaves the hall, Furio will leave as well. The only three people remaining is the king, Salmander, and Alatar.
Whilst everybody else is filing out, I will be sure, whilst lighting my pipe, to give Solomon the old slow up and down.
As that's happening and he starts to feel that discomfort, Salamander, I'm gonna crop dust him as I leave. Just gonna let one out and just fuck this guy.
All right.
On my way.
A gaseous cloud. It's not D&D, but I'll give him a. I'll make him. I'll turn his status to miserable. Once everyone leaves, Arvedui, you can still see that darkness in his face. He goes. The King of Gondor is dead. It is time for Arnor and Gondor to be united under a high king. A coronation that would have been made all the more possible with the support of Elrond of Rivendell. But instead of reforging the sword, he sends me a shard. What is he trying to say, Wizard?
I cannot claim to speak for Lord Elrond, but
are you not one
perhaps,
of the
say again?
He says, are you not one of the wise?
I am, and my wisdom would be better imparted if not interrupted, Your Majesty.
He'll fall silent.
Perhaps his message is that all the kingdoms are but one shard of a whole. You know what is spoken about the line of Isildur.
I am of the line of Isildur, as is my son Arnor, who will take the throne after me. Who else but I deserves the sword? I or my son deserves to wield the sword. If not now, when?
When the time is right, when the right circumstances and characters reveal themselves. You have led a long and productive life. I remember you from when you were a babe.
Salamander would say, if the Iron Crown has its way, none of us will have long lives, Wizard.
The Iron Crown will not prevail. Not if we all do our part. Kings and peasants included.
So, I must prove myself then. Is that what you are saying, Wizard?
Not just you, Your Majesty. Everybody. Even myself.
So we stand against this Iron Crown.
What better test to decide if the line is worthy and if the kingdoms of men are worthy?
I shall consider your words.
A question for you, Your Majesty. You've long been wise and well-informed and rational. Why do you keep such insidious and self-serving company?
You can see Salamander is immediately like, do you know in whose hall do you speak, Wizard?
Is that the king or is that Salamander?
Well, that's Salamander, yeah. And the king.
I don't think it will be necessary for you to speak again whilst I'm here. I'll turn my eyes to the king.
The king holds up his hand and he goes, Salamander is the master of the Palatine. His counsel has been good over the years. I understand that to others he might seem to be pursuing his own interests, but he has always had mine. He has always placed mine above all, and the kingdom.
I will turn more to Salamander, but say loud enough for both. The Palantiri have no master.
One can master anything, Alatar, with enough patience and strength of will.
And indeed, why is my counsel necessary? Will be anything else, Your Majesty?
I will seek to speak with you later, but for now, you may leave.
And I will leave.
And you can see Salamander moves over to whisper into his ear, and the king turns and he goes, "And you may leave as well." He goes, "But my lord, now." "Yes, of course."
So
And he-
in civil unrest.
And Salamander will give you a passing glare and leaving the king on his own. The doors are unattended.
As I pass Salamander, I too will wizardly crop dust him.
Go spend a hope point to make no joke. Okay, there's
I'll spend 3 and kill him.
So Salamander slinks off, and the rest of you find yourself in the main palace at Fornost. You have free reign of the place. There's no, despite the tension in the throne room, you are welcome guests and allies, so you have full access to basically anything except for the king's private chambers. So it's up to you. I have some events in the future, but you can, if you wish, you can chat amongst yourselves. Or so the king is in the throne room. The queen has gone out to the gardens. You can see that she is appears to be taking out frustrations through practice with the sword. Salamander is off to his probably to the Palantir chamber, and we'll say Targon is brooding somewhere. He's wandering the halls, and Omar and Dip, they're quite pleased. They'll tell anyone who will listen that we know where the kitchen is, as they scurry off down the hall.
I will go with the rabbits to the kitchen.
Okay.
With the intent of gossiping with any member of the staff that I see about how Farstan is a tool and he's going to try to marry the princess, and he's gross, and be like, it would be the worst thing to ever happen to this place.
So that
as I go about.
Farstan, when he was introduced, he would have given the king a letter from his father as his gift. But yeah, the kitchen staff. If you actually, do you have an objective in doing this? Or are you looking for the?
I just wanted to spread throughout the house about how awful he is, and somehow manage to make its way to people of importance, so this does not happen to my new friend. Just really doing everything I can, and talk about how he brought a broken sword to battle and it shattered into pieces, and then he ran. How is he ever gonna protect this kingdom if he's gonna marry up to Dania? No. So just tarnishing his name.
I will give
much
you
as I can.
a persuade roll. So that's under wits. You can. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you advantage, which means you roll 2 die 12 and take the highest, and then you're going to roll die 6 for each pip.
I don't have any pips in persuade.
Okay. All right. So you're going to roll 2 die 12. Tell me what you get. I'm giving you the advantage because what you're saying is in fact true. You're not making up any lies.
I rolled a 5. Well, I tried.
So the kitchen staff, they listen to you and they'll chat amongst themselves, but it may not necessarily reach the ears of the king.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just starting gossip. I'm stirring the pot.
Absolutely, yeah. This is where sometimes I get angry at mechanics, because this is where mechanics can undo a great idea. But you're not overly it's not your forte.
Could I instead of persuade, could I attempt awe?
Oh, okay.
I have much more in that to provoke the respect of onlookers.
Yeah. So how you in awe,
wonderment, admiration, or even fear.
You know what? I'm
going through it, and it's the only one that I've got with talking.
Yeah. So here, this would be the. So here's how I would probably interpret that. if you wanted to get, if you wanted to kind of trash talk Farston, then it would probably be persuade. However, if you want to make Dania look so good, like, oh, Dania is so amazing, she should be made to like nothing short of the greatest nobles of Gondor.
Yeah, let's
like
do that
right?
instead.
Do take that approach.
Yeah, so when I see that they aren't taking on just like me shit talking, I will then attempt to keep them in awe of someone they are already very much in awe of.
Enya turning her hope points into hype points.
Hype points?
That's a good idea.
8 plus 5, 4, 2. Math. 6, 11, 19.
Holy jeez, you have a great awe.
I do. I'm really good at being heroic.
All right,
Maybe
so
gossip isn't my thing.
So Dania is, so the stories will start to circulate about how amazing.
Dania's too good for Farstan. Spread it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, and whenever Farstan's name comes up, like, Farstan who? What? Was he a part of the company? I don't remember. Type thing.
Garbage. Trash. Take him out.
So as you, after you leave the kitchen, Omer and Dip, because they so the longer you spend with them, you actually can understand what they say, right? So they will actually ask you to inform the kitchen staff that by royal decree they've been given access to the larder, if you would be so kind.
I will tell the kitchen staff that, and then I'll give them tiny little fist bumps.
And you can head you can head back. You can leave the kitchen area and wander where you will. Does anyone else wish to seek out any of the NPCs or each other?
I would like to. How's the castle? I feel like we ran in here with heat on our tail. Can I check with the castle guard to get some sort of relay messenger situation set up to have people checking in on updates on any sort of movement on the horizon?
Just a reminder that the Palantir here can communicate with the Palantir at Amon Sul. Yeah, you can go out and check with the watch captain, and he will say, the great beast with the rider. Once it left, since it's left, there has been no sign of the shadow.
Okay.
The hills and plains are clear.
Okay. All right, I will tell him to update me with any development, and to make sure that there's extra defenses in place, posted up, all of that. And then I'm gonna go find my mother.
Okay, you know where she's going to be. She's going to be in the garden, probably training, taking out frustrations on the training dummies. Yes, you can see. So she is, you've probably never seen her, strike such fierce blows. But when she sees you comes in, she'll continue for maybe another minute, then just throw the dull sword, the dull iron sword to the ground, walk over, kind of, throw water on her face, and then take a seat.
I had been going for the training sword area, but upon seeing her do that, I will refrain and take a seat next to her.
She looks at you. I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss, daughter. Arnor, where is he?
He's gotten to Amon Sul.
Your father seeks to unite the kingdom. This would destroy him.
You have nothing to say to me, but Arnor was very upset. He is gone with Muriel. She will keep an eye on him, hopefully keep his head cool. But you are going to have to speak with him and eventually Father.
Must understand, Dania. It was a long time ago.
I'm just gonna put my hand out on hers. I don't care, Mother. I understand.
Now do you understand why I sent you to Rivendell instead of Arnor? It is because Elrond would have known. The shard that was the gift. I can't help but think that the sword was not reforged because your father is long past his fighting days. It would have been given to Arnor to wield. It would have been reforged for a lie.
I understand why you sent me, however. I'm sure it was only salt in Arnor's wounds when he realized. We had a creature on our heels upon entering the city, and there have been movements of worse or similar out in the hills. There's something happening that takes a lot more importance than Father's party, and I am worried about his
It wasn't
priorities today.
It wasn't just a party, my daughter. He was going to announce himself, proclaim himself High King of Arnor and Gondor.
What would Gondor have to say about that?
My father is dead. Your father is Isildur's heir. Gondor would have resisted, but if Elrond had endorsed it, if he had reforged the sword, then Gondor would have followed him. I must believe that. Now the future is uncertain.
I feel like this plan was reliant on a whole lot of pieces moving together, and no one had any whole piece. Perhaps actually coming out from the dark with all of the secrets and letting everyone have the information they needed, we could have actually pulled this off. But instead, Elrond thought he was being invited to a party, to a line that was possibly broken by infidelity.
You understand the burden that you now bear. You are Isildur's only heir. Well, sorry, your father would be, but you are your father's only true heir.
I understand this burden.
I suppose I must speak to Targon.
I suppose you must speak to my father.
She'll nod, although you can see the hesitance. It's she will say, she will ask you how did this come to pass?
Well, the pieces of this little plan started coming together, and people realized that it wouldn't work.
She'll put a hand out, put it on your hand, and she will say, I will speak to Arnor and your father. But we must remain strong. You must remain strong. If this truth brings Arthedain to ruin, you must survive it. You understand?
I
Above all
understand.
else, you must survive it.
I understand.
I assume the others know.
Yes, unfortunately, this all came to light out in the open. An open field, as it were, with many an audience.
All right, she will nod. And one other thing, just to remind you of it, just another minor thing. Not only do the others in your fellowship know, the enemy does as well.
Everyone knows.
Oopsies.
All right, so she will she'll get up and walk to go change. The others, does anyone else wish to do anything in particular?
You mentioned that the king was going to seek my counsel again. I wasn't sure if that was during this visit or later on or a separate occasion.
Later in the day, perhaps. He's just being left to his thoughts right now.
Yep.
You can wander the halls. You can probably see. You probably could have spotted Dania in the garden with her mother. You can see her mother gets up and leaves. Obviously the looks on their faces are heavy. And Celebrian, whether or not you stay in your room, but you were given the best room. One of the best guest rooms in Fornost, with a nice balcony that does overlook the garden. You might view this exchange as well, but yeah, you're safe, but the shadow still weighs heavy on this place. So, does anyone wish to do anything else?
Alatar, were you going somewhere?
No, take it away.
All right. Celebrion's going to actually, she was going to try to talk to Queen Furiel, but seeing that she's occupied, Celebrion is going.
You can catch her. Don't. I was just saying she's walking out, but if you want to talk to her, you're perfectly welcome.
I was actually curious to go have a little chat with Targon first.
Okay. And you can find, very interesting, you can find Targon. You can probably find him out when you go looking for him. You know what? He's doing what he does best, his duty. You'll actually find him out on the wall, kind of standing by himself, looking south. He will give you he'll give you a nightly kind of nod, my lady Celebrian.
Good, sir.
It's home seems so distant this far north.
Home is a place we carry with us.
I was a fool to think that I would find some closure by coming here. Instead, I've made things worse, far worse. I still love her. I would never admit that to her, to Dania, or to anyone else, but she never wanted to marry Arvedui. At least I don't think so. But it was her duty. So one night is all we had. One night that has spelt ruin, perhaps, for the kingdom.
You have the air of a man with so much devotion to give, looking for some duty that would be compatible with your desires.
I have only known service to the Citadel, service to my king. I would die for her. I would die for my son. I would even die for Arvedui, if it would make a difference.
Are all men's lives something worthy only in the spending, then?
I am a warrior, my lady. I do not count myself amongst the wise. I've dedicated my life to one thing: serving the King of Gondor. But when he was killed on the field of battle against the Wayne Riders, I had but one thought, and that and his sons, the entire family, dead. I had but one thought: the grief that Furiel would feel from it. I don't know what compelled me to come, but I did, and what's done is done. I don't even know what compelled me to speak aloud the secret which I had kept for so long, that I had took a vow to keep and broke. But in that moment when I saw death wielding that Morgul blade about to end my son's life, I felt that my sword was useless. My armor served no purpose. My shield could not defend him, but the truth could save his life, and perhaps it did. But at what cost?
This disaster, if indeed disaster it is for the human kingdoms, was not one that you engineered a few days back, but one that happened nearly 2 decades ago.
He'll nod. Thank you for your kind words.
You will need to determine what it is that you will do with yourself now, where you will place your devotion, and what remains of your life.
I have placed Arthedain in peril. What I will do with the rest of my life is very certain to me. I will stand and die if I must, defending it. Angmar is coming, and I will stand against it to the last. I ride out tomorrow morning for Amon Sul. I go to be with my son.
Do you think this is a good idea?
What other counsel would you give? What other path? What other path is there before me? My son defends the watchtower, and the forces of Angmar march upon it. I serve no purpose here other than to bring further pain. Perhaps I can stand at my son's side, and with my sword and shield and blood, allow the watchtower to stand. I know no other course of action, my lady. If you know of one, then speak it. But I am a soldier, as I said. I only know how to fight.
You could, if you wished, pledge your service instead to the youngest heir of the true line of Isildur, as well as the youngest remaining daughter of Gondor.
Dania. Indeed. Perhaps I owe her as much. Her fate is entwined with my actions so long ago. I will approach her before I leave and see to it and offer and ask what she would have me do. I will let her decide. But for now, I need to speak with Fenja. There's something I need her to do. And you can see he'll reach under his cloak and you can see the glint of metal, the spearhead, which you probably have already seen. You remember that it was Furiel's, and he'll nod and take his leave with your permission.
Go in good hope.
And he will, he will head off to actually find you, Fenja. To kind of be wherever you are. I don't know if you're wandering, you're in your room.
I am getting up to every ounce of trouble I can with these two rabbits. So I am just wandering around with them, letting them lead the way as I'm starting to finally understand what they're saying. Like trying to learn more just by spending like copious amounts of time with them and also drinking as I walk.
As you and the rabbits are up to some antics, Targon, you'll see him approaching and he'll say, my lady dwarf, Fenja, is it not?
It is.
We did not have much opportunity to speak on the journey with being pursued and such.
Yeah, plus Farson wouldn't shut up.
But I would ask a favor of you.
Okay.
And he brings out the spear. It's just the head of a spear. He will say, I know your people are renowned craftsmen, men and women. I am wondering if you could reforge this and attach it to a haft from which it will never break.
I could try, but I don't know that they would have the resources here.
There's a spear. He will say, that is all I can ask.
All right, I'll look around, see what I can find here, and if
There
can't
are
hear it.
there are all kinds of forges, and they'd be of good quality. And I would say the metal here is of good quality. The only thing that would be missing would be mithril. But you wouldn't be able to melt mithril in these forges. It actually requires the heat of the fires of Moria.
Yep. So I'll start wandering around, ask some of the help that I've willingly given all these details about how wonderful Dania is, in hopes of their good favor, find the best forge here.
Absolutely. You'll find that the craftsmen here are just, they defer to you just as much as they're bad. I mean, it's not often that they have a dwarf come in and teach them some things. So, they will give you full access to a forge, any metal that you wish. And you can, you can get to work.
Oh, yeah. I'll put my hair back and just start crafting away.
And having heard Furiel's story, you could do something like you mentioned before that you like to put stories into things. So maybe you can actually put the story into the shaft of the spear or something.
Hell yeah.
All right. So you could be doing that. And does anyone else?
DM, could I go find the wizard?
Yes. Yeah, Alatar, where did you get yourself off to?
I imagine I just went for a bit of a walk. I know better to try and smoke indoors most places before heading back towards my rooms. Maybe that's where we bump into each other on my way.
Okay. So you run into each other on one of the halls, which one side is a wall, the other side is kind of an open balcony overlooking the gardens.
Wizard, may I speak to you candidly?
Always.
I've seen many a king now come to you for counsel. And since my future seems to now be somewhat aligned with that, I figured I'd start.
It is a good start, but you've come asking for it instead of demanding it haughtily, like so many forebears have.
Wizard, what do I do? I feel like my father, his behavior seems petulant and plotting. And my mother, while I believe she has a good heart, has gotten caught up in secrecy and maneuvering just as much. And now I feel that my whole future is not so much to rule or lead or anything, but merely to survive. I'm nothing but a link in a chain that won't be realized for an age.
Why must it be so? Why could it not be yourself or your child? Your father is past his prime. He listens to the muddled whisperings of those seeking to further their own ends with Palantiri.
If I
Your
fail
brother
to survive or fail to bear a child, now the line of Isildur is broken.
If you had been a son and had been slain on any such skirmish, the line would be as equally broken. Your challenge is merely of a slightly different ilk, but your role is no less important. Your father is removed from this. Your brother can hold no claim over the line. Your mother's mistakes, although mistakes, are inconsequential to this.
Do you think I should try and hope to lead this kingdom, or honestly, I have a mind to find a husband and run away to some hut in the forest?
And then the line is broken, or at least muddied for a time. Your brother, and lower my voice obviously, your brother is no longer the line.
Do you have
I
any
believe your
advice
father to
for
be
me for what I should do next?
continue being as grounded and as following your heart. You've taken every step correctly so far, I feel.
I hope you're right. Thank you, Wizard. And I will go find my rooms.
All right. The day weighs heavy upon you. And Celebrian, as you return from the wall towards your room, you will actually find, so each of your, since you have a really nice guest room, one of the best, you would have kind of receiving rooms, like it's actually a multi-chambered kind of quarters that you would have. You'll find in the receiving chamber, which is kind of the first room that you enter, is the queen. She's sitting there with a bottle of wine, unopened, and 2 glasses, as if and apparently she's been waiting for you. She'll rise and curtsy or bow.
Celebrian will curtsy a little bit as well and just say, "Your Majesty."
She will point to the bottle. She will say, "This was a gift from Lorien a long time ago. I was waiting for a special occasion to open it. Given that it was a gift from your mother, I thought this occasion fit.
I would be honored to share some of my mother's vintage with you.
So she will open the bottle, pour a couple of glasses, and then sit, and she will say, you know my plight.
Yes.
Dania believes that the truth, that my husband needs to know the truth. Can I will not ask, but Elrond does not feel that he is worthy, does he?
You are not the only woman who must bring graciousness in to cover her husband's tides of irritation.
She'll take a long drink from the wine, and she goes, I know that my husband is not worthy of the sword, and I know that Arnor cannot wield it. You have traveled with my daughter. Does she bear the courage in her heart to do what my husband and my son cannot?
Your daughter has the courage of youth. We will see what and who she becomes as the years wear on.
Well, then she looks towards you with a bit of a, she'll say, sometimes humans do not have the luxury of years as your people do. I know my daughter is strong. But I think the opportunity for her to show whether or not she is worthy of the sword is upon us. I feel it. The shadow. I feel it coming for us.
It has pursued us here.
She'll take another drink and she'll look up and she goes, I am glad that Elrond sent you instead of coming himself. I fear my husband, I apologize, he did not react well to the shard, but its message is clear to me. And she will nod. Your husband is indeed very wise.
You need not apologize for the actions of your husband. I have marked his reaction and yours. It will bring me little joy to report them back.
She puts a hand out and grabs your hand and she goes, perhaps you should speak with my daughter and report her actions to Lord Elrond. The futures will depend on her actions. Of that I am certain. Not my husband's, and not mine.
I will certainly do so.
Thank you. And she will, unless you have something else to say, she will get up and leave the chamber. All right. So did anyone? So I guess Fenja, you worked on the spear. I'm not going to ask you to make a roll here.
Oh man, I've got so many dice to roll.
Okay, go ahead. Make the where is the that's craft, right? Yeah, give me a roll. Let's see how awesome it is.
You're gonna get nothing but Saurons now.
That's
You're
right.
Regret that hubris.
I was gonna make it awesome by default, but now it might be awesome or it might not.
Most cursed spear ever.
9 and 3, so 9, and then 6, 6, 1, 1. Wow, so balanced. So 9 plus 14, 23.
Oh, okay. That is an amazing roll. So you're right to roll. That's better than I thought. So you forge this spear, and it is amazing.
Heck yeah.
The edge is extremely sharp. The haft is extremely strong. And the story of the question is, there's the story of Furiel, and then it could be the story of Furiel, or it could be the story of Furiel and Targon. Which do you make it?
Just Furiel.
Okay.
I don't need to etch in stone the problem that is about to occur.
Yeah. All right. So you finished it, and you bring it back to Targon?
Yes.
Okay. He's speechless when he sees it. He is like, I could not begin to imagine the level of craftsmanship that you possess, Master Dwarf. Indeed, this is far beyond my expectations. What payment do you seek?
Well, if you're going to be traveling with us, I would like you to buy all of the rest of the food for me, at least, on the rest of this adventure. And ale.
Indeed, my lady, but it is not my intention to travel with you, I am afraid. On the morrow, I leave for Amon Sul to help with the defense. I feel there, but I will see to it that sufficient provisions are loaded on your horse before you depart.
I guess that'll work.
And know this: should you ever find yourself in Minas Tirith, you will be welcomed in the Citadel.
Okay.
So he will take it. He'll nod, and he will take the spear, and he will. So where did Dania? So a few hours probably would have passed. I mean, this is probably later in the evening. Some people may be getting some rest, but Dania, after speaking with Alatar, where would you have gone? Just back to your chambers, or? Oh,
I believe she's muted.
You're muted.
I would have gone back to my chambers. Just to think by myself for a bit.
So hours slip by when there is a knock at your door. You would have like a servant of some kind will inform you that Targon of Gondor is here to see you.
Man.
Yeah. So he comes in. You can see he's carrying an amazing spear. You recognize the spearhead. It is your mother's. It is the one that he showed you. I believe in Tharbad. It is a spear that took Shugdal's eye, and he will actually. So normally a knight gets down on like one. He might bow or something like that, or maybe go down to one knee. He actually goes onto both knees, and he holds the sword out. You can see there's a glimmer of there's some tears. He's not crying, but there's some some welling in his eyes, and he is like, my lady Dania of Arthedain, heir of Isildur. I, Targon of Gondor. Ask what you would have of me. And I present you with this spear. That which took Shugdal's eye, that which was wielded by Firiel. And again, I would ask what you would have of me. My intent was to ride to Amon Sul to stand with your brother. But my fate is yours to decide.
I will reach out and take the spear in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Rise, Targon.
I cannot. I am not worthy.
Well, then you cannot serve me. You are, in your very first breath, not doing what I ask.
He will muster his strength and rise. He goes, my apologies. I was momentarily overcome.
I will have none of that self-pity and self-indulgence if you are to truly serve me.
All right, he stands tall.
It has become apparent to me that my fate is intertwined with more than I could have anticipated. I thought most of this would fall to my brother. So I would ask that you serve me and help me and my hopeful eventual heir make it to their destiny.
Anything that you wish.
And I would ask that you live out the rest of your days in integrity.
Of course, my
No
lady.
longer keeping to the shadows or giving into plots and intrigue.
He will nod. He goes. Every good spear needs, every weapon of quality needs a name. And I have seen very few weapons of greater quality than this. I have come to think of it as Furiel's fury. But of course, it is yours to do with as you please. And he will nod and take his leave unless you have anything else.
As he walks out, I'm gonna Targon.
Yes.
If you do love her, you should tell her.
He'll just nod at that. It's a surprise, surprises him, but he will nod at that as he steps away. And so, do you all want to take a break before we get to the kickoff to the main event?
Yeah,
Sorry,
can I
what?
end with
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Can I end with one last scene?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Dania has been thinking a whole lot just quietly in her room all day, and she is actually going to get up once it's evening and the castle has kind of quieted.
Yeah.
She is going to go to Arnoth's room.
Arnoth, okay. You can see, you'll actually find him on the balcony outside of his room. Look, at night, kind of watch fires get lit. He's probably looking at it at the wall. He's a bit surprised. He's surprised to see you. He'll turn and nod. My lady, how may I be of service?
Arnoth, you have always been kind to me. Would you be kind to me tonight?
Yes, my lady.
And GM, I would just like to fade to black right there.
Oh, okay. Well, he has something that he wants to say. Just at the beginning. We can fade to black, but he will say, of course. He goes, yes, anything, my lady. But there is something that I need to say. Something that is difficult. When I experienced a wound from war, eventually it heals, But this knowledge that I now possess, this secret, it will not heal. It will not go away. It will continue to fester, I fear. But what I must tell you now is that I have served your brother for many years. And before yesterday, would have given my life for him without hesitation. But I cannot do that anymore. I will not die for Arnor, because I may need to die for you.
I would rather you live.
As would I, he'll say with a smile, and then we can
Okay.
fade to black. All right, we'll be back in 10. I guess, and we'll kick off the. I guess we'll kick off the roller coaster. Okay, just joking. See you. Welcome back to TPK's Shadow Over Arnor, the One Ring campaign. I think when we left, everybody went to bed. The night will pass, and the sun will rise. There's a new dawn in the north, but it is a red dawn. So as you get up, you can get ready. Aranath will slip away, but you will all receive word that the king is seeking your presence in the Great Hall. So, does anyone want to do anything on their way on the way to the Great Hall?
GM, I would like to stop by my room and change my clothes.
Okay, very good. Fenja, Omer, and Dip, they didn't come back last night. You don't know what they've been up to, but if you early morning, if you go look for them, you'll find them. They're passed out in a larder somewhere. Their stomachs are like twice the size of normal. But you can, if you want to bring them to the Great Hall, you'll have to wake them up. Otherwise, they're just going to sleep through till noon.
I will do my best not to wake them and scoop one up in each arm and carry them like children with me to the Great Hall.
All right. They'll be mumbling something about turnips and cabbage when you arrive at the Great Hall. You will note that there is Alatar. You in particular, you will note there's a bit of a buzz in the castle. Of excitement, not despair. People are moving about, So the Great Hall. Oh, wait, what do you want to do with that? That's up to you. But
I'd like to try and listen out and see if I can identify what people are buzzing about.
So as everybody is gathering in the Great Hall, you hear. You overhear a conversation between two servants, or one of them is saying, massive, incredibly large, as large as a tower, just perched out there on top of it.
What do you speak of? Yes, you.
One of them will look at you and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, my lord. We speak of the eagle that has arrived."
Very so.
Indeed. I've never seen
when and whence?
At dawn, just as the sun rose. It landed on one of the outer towers. We were asked to find something for it to eat, but my lord, what to feed such a massive creature is lost upon us.
Why not ask it? I shall ask it. And then it can declare its intentions for itself.
Did he not hear us say that it was an eagle? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he understood, but...
Do you take me merely for a vagrant in a robe?
Oh, no, my lord. The both not.
Show me to this eagle.
I am sorry, my lord. I've just never heard of such things as eagles speaking.
Show me.
They'll bring you to a window, and you can see perched out onto a tower. is a great eagle. It's just sitting there, kind of pruning itself, looking around. It is oat, so this is an odor tower. So the window that you're looking at, it'd probably take you, it might take you a little bit to get out there, maybe 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, from the window, looking over to it, would I recognize by name this particular eagle?
So Radagast definitely knows all the eagles. If you feel, it's up to you. If you feel that Alatar would have, would make sure that he's up on the eagles, by all means.
I will raise a hand, despite the distance.
Yep. It is keen-eyed, so it immediately spots the
I'll
movement.
raise a hand to the eagle, and I will lower my voice and say, well, not softly, more just a bit of a low forcefulness.
You can have your voice carried upon the wind.
Oh, but not to go yodeling across the dale. It will be low with intent, but I'm sure that the wind will carry it how I need it to if I pop a hope point. And I'll just say, well met, friend of Radagast.
Alatar the Wise, indeed. It is by Radagast's request that I am here to put myself at your service.
To what end? What aid does Radagast foresee?
I do not know the mind of wizards, but I know that the king of this land has made a request of Saruman, and Radagast has answered that request, which was to send me. I have flown the night to be here, and I will remain until my service is no longer required.
Your efforts are most appreciated. I will be out of you shortly once we conduct our business here. Is there anything I can bring for you? Any refreshment?
I require nothing at the moment, but thank you, wizard.
We are honored by your presence. We will rejoin you very shortly.
And it will nod, and you can enter the hall where Arvedui, where everyone is gathered. Arvedui, Furiel, Salmander, Target. Aranath probably wasn't invited, so he is, he won't be present because he's just a kind of a ranger in the service of the keep. But Targan and Farstan are here, and by the way, nobody had. I have to say, I'm shocked. Like Farstan was around, he was floating around the castle, yet nobody sought him out to talk to him, and
I wanted to seek him out for counsel, but he seemed
like he kind of got relegated to the NPCs that are forgotten. I hate to do that as a GM, but thanks to Fenja's role, I just kind of struck him from the list, so to speak. So suddenly, when you see him in the Great Hall, you're reminded that he was with your company. It kind of had slipped your mind for a while, but he is here.
Ugh, he's still here. I whisper to the rabbits.
Very loudly.
Very loudly. Like, enough to be rude at this point.
One of the rabbits will burp.
Yeah.
And grow. And Arvedui, Salmander will step forward, and he'll go, "Thank you for attending this council. The great King Arvedui wishes to address you," and he will step aside, and Arvedui will he'll actually, he'll put his hand out, and he will say, "Alatar, Celebrian, Fenja, please come forward. Dania, would you stand at your father's side?"
I will nod in deference and go and stand next to him.
You'll probably say Targan too, and you note that he's obviously his demeanor is such that Furiel has not spoken with him yet, Perhaps she's waiting for the right time. Perhaps she's hesitating. You're not sure.
What?
But Arvedui, he'll stand from his throne, and he'll probably look at you first, Alatar, but his gaze will move from you to Celebrian as he speaks. That he will say, "If Elrond wants proof that the Lion of Isildur is strong, then so be it. Great kings are made by great wars. I shall deal with the threat from Angmar, and when this sorcerer king is cast from his throne, there will be no question as to who rules the north. But this is the victory that Gondor cannot hear about in tales." He looks to Targon. "For them to recognize me as their king, they need to see my quality firsthand. Salmander has used the Palantir to send word to Gondor that we call upon the treaties of old and request their aid in the war to come." And now his gaze will turn to Celebrian and Fenja. "I also call upon the alliances of old between our people. I am Arvedui, son of Araphant, rightful heir to Arnor and Gondor, and I call upon your people to join me in battle against this shadow." Will Rivendell answer? Will Khazad-Duhm answer? That I know. That I do not. That I know you. That answer I know you do not have. But I do ask of this: that you travel, that my daughter travels with you, returns to your homes, speaks to Lord Elrond and King Durin, and asks that they join me. Then, together, victory against the Iron Crown will be assured, the alliances will be reforged, and Elrond will have his answer. He looks towards you. Do you have anything to add, wizard? We make our stand at Amon Sul.
It is good to call upon fellowships and alliances of old. It is only united that we will stand against this shadow.
Indeed.
I will say nothing with regards to his worthiness.
He'll say, hope. For the first time, I have hope. Bring that hope to your people. And he will say something like, on the morning of the second day, I will ride for Amon Sul. I can only hope that you will be there to meet me. And he will nod and take a step back, and Salmander will step forward. We have received a great gift from Radagast after council with Saruman. Hrondir, one of the great eagles, has arrived and has offered to ferry you wherever you wish to go. To Khazad-Duhm, to Rivendell, to Lorien, to the Mirkwood realm. We call upon all allies. Yes?
A great gesture from the Eagle Lords, but I would advise against ever referring to one of them as a gift, certainly in their earshot. They are older,
He will
and more proud even than elves.
He will not. I am afraid that journeying by land is quite impossible. I am sorry, my lady, but we have heard word from Saruman. Rivendell is besieged. The passes are shut. He goes, but together we can prevail. If you, Fenja, of Khazad-Duhm can convince your king to march on Rivendell, free the passes, then together, elves and dwarves can join us at Amon Sul. But your king must answer the call. Will you take Lord Arvedui's message?
Well, you say elves and dwarves? And I'll just look at Celebrian.
Everyone looks
great.
back.
You're great. I'm sorry I doubted you at first, but you're great. And I set down the rabbits for a second to put my hands on my hips.
What are the rabbits? As they pop out. Did somebody say there was an eagle here?
Yes, careful or you'll be a snack.
Or Omar, they're like, they'll both kind of grumble a bit, but Arvedui goes, Fenja of Khazad-Duhm, I do not ask that you succeed. I just ask that you try.
Sure.
And daughter, you will be my voice. Actually, he would say in Aranor's absence.
I will not acknowledge that part. I will just say, of course.
Then I would hear your responses, if any. If not, then I fear time works against us. I would ask that you begin your journey. So he will sit back. If anyone has anything to say, you can. Otherwise, you'll kind of be left to your own to discuss.
I will step down and come up to Fenja and just say, perhaps we visit your land first. I have always wanted to see.
Question. Where is the most ale right now? Before we go.
I have a personal barrel in my room that I save for special occasions. I'll take you there.
How many barrels can an eagle carry, Alatar?
In its talons or in its stomach, Fenja?
Probably in its talons. I don't know that people would want to have it from their stomach.
I imagine it wouldn't fly very straight anyway.
That's
What?
also true.
What details of the siege on Rivendell?
Salmander, he'll say, I do not know much of the secrets of Rivendell, but all...
My shock and surprise knows no ends. May I use a palantir myself?
He pauses for a long moment. Of course, he'll nod. He will say, from our understanding, the Hrondir says that all passes in and out to Rivendell have been blocked. They are surrounded. But from what I understand, with my limited knowledge, Rivendell is not easy to breach.
This is true, but it is also vital to the longevity of the realm.
Omar kind of raises a paw. He's like, does anyone besides Dip and I object to the eagle? I mean, Radagast is always doing this. He's always one-upping us with the eagle. What, rabbits aren't good enough? Huh, of course.
My friends, can an eagle travel underground, under barrow?
Oh, well, no.
Can an eagle traverse the halls of great kings?
Well, no, of course not. That's.
I think you overlook your worth, my friends.
Yes.
I agree. You'll be far more useful in Khazad-Duhm than that bird ever will be. With respect. Just looks around the hall in case the eagle is somewhere nearby suddenly.
So, Arvedui, he's getting up and walking down the steps in front of his throne. He says a few words with Furiel, but Furiel will be waiting to speak with you, Dania. But your group will have to decide on your course of action. Sounds like Khazad-Duhm has been proposed.
Celebrian will actually approach Soulmunder.
Okay.
Being maybe the only person in this room who isn't intent on insulting him right now.
He will bow in deference.
She will nod her head a little and say, "You say your tidings of the siege of Rivendell came from the Eagle?"
Yes, I did speak with Saruman briefly, but Hrondir provided additional detail. He flew over Rivendell on his route here, from what I understand.
Are there any other details of these tidings that you can give me?
I do not believe, based on what knowledge I have, I believe that Angmar is intent on keeping Rivendell out of the fight, as opposed to trying to breach your home. From what I understand, not even the perhaps not he's not making a connection to Sauron, but he'll say not even the great enemy himself could easily breach Elrond's sanctuary. But the point is they cannot come to our aid, even should they wish to do so.
I see. Thank you for these news.
And he will, as he leaves the room, he'll say, the Palantir awaits you whenever you so wish, good wizard. And he will leave the room.
Lady Dania, would you show me the way?
Of course.
And of course, anybody else who wishes to come along. In fact, why don't we all stick together?
Okay. Farstan, he's kind of like, he's kind of not quite sure what to do. But the king would have, so Salamander and the king would have spoken to him. They do expect Cardalon to, Cardalon is one of the kingdoms as well, but they will actually tell Farstan that they will, he'll be escorted to Cardalan by horse to, rouse their numbers, their army, and march on Amon Sul. So when you get into the Palantir room, Salamander will take a step back. He'll say, "I'm sure you know what you're doing."
Thank you, Salamander. We'll send for you if necessary.
Oh, you're dismissing him. Oh, he's actually surprised by that. He was hoping to linger around, see what you're going to do. He's not quite sure at the time. He goes, but he'll look towards you, Dania, since you came with him. Can I be of any additional service, my lady?
That will be all.
Of course.
Thank you.
He will depart. Fenja giving him away. He will depart, leaving your group to take counsel amongst yourselves, along with the Palantir. Or the Palantir.
Lady Dania, you've already demonstrated that you're able to use the Palantir, and I dare not look into it myself. For all manner of reasons, but I believe it would be prudent for us to verify Salamander's words.
All right, I'm just gonna glance about. Okay.
You did before, didn't you? It was use of a vision at Amon Sul. I haven't got it completely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the room, the company that I am in, though, I feel like Dania is a little surprised that she is being chosen to look again, but okay.
Yeah. Well, according to and you would know this, Dania, but according to lore, the heirs of Isildur can they can all wield a palantir. Anyone else requires, first you need great strength of will, and they require, practice and use. So Salamander has learned it through practice, but, to you, the stone will bend to your will.
All right, I'm gonna reach forward and
I will put a hand on her shoulder before she starts.
So you would have, you would have done this probably hundreds of times. As a young girl, would have been a part of your training.
Okay.
Yep. So you can reach over, place your hands upon the palantir. Now you do know that there are 3 palantir in the north, one at Amon Sul, one in Anuminous. So you can use it to communicate to people on the other end, or you can just cast your gaze to see what you can see. And I'm assuming you'd be interested in Rivendell, Rudour, things like that. Yep. So you can cast. All of a sudden, the landscape of Arthedain is it's almost like you're flying over it, right? It's just sweeping underneath you, as if you are an eagle soaring through the crowds. Out over the Trollshaw, the Etenmoors, you see the fires of Cameth Bren to the north, and the many fires of a great host marching south. So there is no question in your mind as you pass over Rudour that the host of Angmar, its eye is fixed on Amon Sul. It's still some days away from it, but they are marching. As you sweep in around Rivendell, now the palantir cannot, just because of the elven magic, it cannot peer into Rivendell itself. It's shrouded in mist, but you can see the ways, the lands around it, and essentially those lands are filled with primarily warg riders, but hundreds of them patrolling the paths and ways. And again, Rivendell is a great power, but it has, at Celebrian, you would know this, it has been laid siege to over the years a number of times. Essentially, what they're doing is essentially blocking all of the main ways in and out. A single elf or two could slip past, probably without question, but they would not be able to march in great force before Angmar would mobilize forces to come against them. If you sweep south towards Khazad-Duhm, Angmar is not concerned about it. Their belief is that you would imagine their belief is that the dwarves have no interest in opening their gate. Why would they leave Khazad-Duhm? So Khazad-Duhm lies, the fires of Khazad-Duhm burn, and they appear to be of no importance to Angmar.
Okay. I will remove my hands after seeing all of this and relay it to my party.
Yeah, unless there's anything else, Alatar, that you wanted her to look at it.
No. Just wanted to see what you saw. If Salamander's claims and what he was pouring in the king's ear, was it entirely as he said, or was it a little bit self-serving? Or was Salamander being shown stuff that wasn't true?
Well, it seems like it's all backed up.
Yep, it seems as such.
I would trust the word that he relayed from the eagle who is right there.
Yes, so Hrondir awaits. The palantir is in a tower that overlooks the entire city. You can see the eagle from one of the windows up here easily.
Do you feel that you would know Rivendell's defenses better than anybody here, Celebrian? Can it wait while we go to Khazad-Duhm, or should we see to its safeguarding first?
Rivendell will not fall lightly.
And certainly not to a force such as the one that Lady Dania has described. I do not think that my husband will be able to send forces out to aid us, but I do not fear for his safety.
Then is it to be Khazad-Duhm then?
Yeah, so your main task is to free Rivendell, and you have three options: Khazad-Duhm, Lorien, or the Elven realm of Mirkwood. Or yeah, I'm not limiting you, but it sounds like I guess within your company, you would have two, I guess, direct connections. Of course, Celebrian is Galadriel and Celeborn's daughter, so she has that connection. And Fenja is the king's niece. So Khazad-Duhm is probably the closest. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So who do you want to bring?
I would look out to the eagle, sorry, and just again, a low voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
We make our way to you now, my friend. We are to fly to Khazad-Duhm.
Then my wings will bear you there swiftly. So before you leave, you have a couple of decisions. Well, you have one decision. So Targon, so Farstan is going to be riding south to Cardalon. Targon, he did want to ride to Amon Sul and stand with his son, but he has pledged his service to Princess Dania. So what he does is up to you. And then there's the rabbits. You can let them free. You can free them of their service, or you can cart them along with you. So, and it's not, from the story perspective, it's not required for any of these NPCs to accompany you. That's completely up to you.
I will ask Farstan to stay here and attend to my father, promising that I will be back and that we can talk when I return.
Okay.
I would ask the rabbits what they want to do.
They will say, truthfully, eat turnips. But we understand that heroes can't always eat turnips. If we can be in service to you, wise wizard, then we will do so. But we are of no use in the sky.
You will sit, if you so choose to join us, you will sit safely in my robes. It'll be no different to when we were on the horse.
They'll look at each other and they'll go, do you want to tell them, or do you want me to tell them? I don't, maybe you should tell them. He goes, yeah.
Speak.
We'd prefer to ride with Fenja. He'll suddenly look behind him. And he's like, but only if it pleases you, my lord.
Enough of that. If you wish to take your counsel from a growing friendship with Fenja, I am more than happy for that.
They'll both do a bow and scurry over to Fenja. They're like, and they'll quickly start hitting you with questions like, "You have cabbage."
I'll quite happily unload from several pockets in my robes an unusual amount of vegetation that I, with relief, hand over to Fenja. This burden is now yours to bear.
One of them will be like, "We heard of the treasures of Khazad-Duhm. You must have great hoards of cabbage and treasure, or cabbage and turnips, and
we have so much food.
Radishes."
Yes.
And so they'll be quite happy at that. So as you are leaving, Salamander will be waiting outside. He will say, "Dania, your father would wish to have one final word."
Did he have a glass in his hand like he was?
No.
I'll say, lead the way.
And as you enter, you can see your father is there and your mother is there, and he whispers something to your father, and your father is like, "I need no further counsel on this. My mind is made up." And you can tell that Salamander is not pleased with whatever decision the king has made. And Salamander takes a step back and he'll say, "Of course, my lord." And your father holds out a letter and he will say, "This letter is from Farstan's father, Baltherid. It contains several requests, ones which I fulfill will solidify the reunion of Cardolan and Arthedain. One of those requests is that I give your hand in marriage to Farstan. But based on what I have been hearing, I am not sure. You have a corn dog to thank for this, because I did not write it this way. You were going to actually be handed. You were actually going to be told that this must be done. But he's like, but based on what I've been hearing, I am not convinced that that is the right choice for you. So the decision is yours, and I will honor whichever decision you make, but I thought you should know. It's a corn dog sipping. She's like,
I appreciate you leaving the decision up to me. However, my decision right now would be to wait until
of course,
these more pressing matters are handled.
Of course, but you should know, considering that Farstan will be returning to Cardolan with a letter from me to his father, and I'll be advising him as such. Now is not the time to be making demands. Now is the time for us to come together, defeat Angmar. Then we can figure out the rest. He comes down off the throne and he goes, I am proud of you. I have to admit, it was your mother's idea that you take up this task. But I do not regret that she made the request. And he will nod and return to his throne. Your mother.
I will give him a hug before he
Okay,
does
all right.
so.
All right, you give him a hug. And as you turn to leave, your mother will walk you out. And she will say, she'll walk you out and she will say, I know you might be disappointed, but now is not the time. We defeat Angmar. Then I will tell him.
If you think word will not reach him before that, you are wrong.
It'll
I
be
think
about.
it would be kinder for it to come from you than Silvertongue.
Perhaps.
Oh,
Forge.
your past, Mother.
Forge
I look
these.
forward to seeing you when I get back.
She will say, I will, if you promise to forge your future. These alliances, they must be made.
I will.
And she will nod, and you can all head out to where Hrondir awaits. And you can all climb upon his great back. Find it's nice. It's rather comfortable. It's the feathers are soft, he probably would have a leather harness of sorts, which you can each kind of strap yourself in, and he will take to the air, flying high above. Most of you would never have seen the land from this vantage point. A great eagle flying over Arthedain, and he'll circle. First, fly south. He'll actually pass over Amon Sul towards the great misty mountains. The journey will. You can sleep. You can probably you can chat but it's very peaceful and almost meditative as you soar above the clouds. Until he rises and rises and rises, for the great mountains are before you, and the air turns chill as a structure comes into view. Durin's Tower. It is the highest point of Khazad-Duhm, a great stair that spirals down deep into the mountain. And Hrondir will circle it and eventually come to rest at its peak. There will probably be dwarven sentries here. They are startled by the presence of a great eagle, but as soon as they recognize Fenja, you are most welcome.
Hi.
You have returned.
For a moment. Tries to look like she did not just spend the past 3 hours screaming with rabbits on top of an eagle.
Yeah, you can compose yourself. They're just they basically don't get in your way. The guards will stand aside. However, I will give everybody an insight roll, please. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to go pick my dog up and put him in his chair so he stops whining behind me. I'll be right back.
Oh, so cute. So that's rolled with disadvantage.
Yes, who has who trained is a very good question.
I am not trained, but that is a suspiciously high number.
I got a 6.
A 23. Yeah, I'm not quite. I know that's a Gandalf. So maybe that's So Gandalf is an amazing success.
I got a 19.
Oh, 19's good. Fenja, what about yourself?
I got a 7 total because all I get is the worst of these two.
You know, the rabbits are jumping up and down. You're quite. How are you feeling coming home?
I am very excited to go back underground. This has been a lot of time where the air tastes weird.
And Dania, what did she get on her roll?
I got a 6.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is you are literally on a high peak of the mountains.
Mhm.
You know what? Probably in the distance, like being so high up on Durin's Stair, I would imagine in the distance you might make out the faint forms of stone giants hurling rocks against the mountains, causing a crowd. Like it's kind of awe-inspiring, and so you're lost in the moment. Alatar and Celebrian, you note that there is the dwarves nervously glance between each other when they see Fenja. They take a step back and they grip their spears tighter than you would expect for people who are just on watch. Yes, perhaps it is best you go to the King's Hall, but you should hurry, one of them will say.
Is he in a mood?
They will look at each other. They're not quite sure how to respond. His mood is foul, my lady. One of them will say.
Lady Celebrian,
But
not to come off across as like super awful of a person, but it may be wise to wear your hood just for a little while. You're already way too pretty to be here, but
I do not intend on angering 2 kings in a row. And she will put up her hood.
Okay. You descend the long stairs. As you're going down, you'll repeatedly get a tug on your coat, Fenja, and they'll be like, "Are we there yet? This is a lot of stairs to hop." But the stairs go down and down and down and down and down and down and down. But the coldness is left behind, and you feel the warmth of the deep earth. When you reach the bottom, a familiar face is waiting for you, Fenja. It is Tilly, the king's daughter. But you can see she. And by the way, the dwarves, they do have. Do you remember Helm's Deep, where they blew the horn? They have systems of metal pipes in place where they can yell into it, and somebody down on the bottom can hear, right? So it's no surprise to you that she is waiting. The sentries above probably sent message that guests were arriving. But when she comes forward, you can see the look of worry on her face. She's like, Fenja, you have returned, and not a moment too soon. I'm the king. He is in the hall. He is assembling his warriors. Something.
For what?
He goes, the redstone loads. Something happened. The miners, many are dead. Your father took a force down to investigate. I fear he is trapped. There are orcs and goblins
in the mines,
swarming the lower mines.
Take me to the king, I guess, but I'd almost prefer to go down.
No, she said the king is assembling the warriors in force. They are going down. And she leads you to the king's hall, where you can see Durin. There are dwarven warriors in heavy armor, all assembled, and the king is, he's getting his armor on, his sword, and Tilly leads you in, and she'll say, Father, Fenja has returned. And he kind of gives you a sideways glance, and he goes, I care not of what news you bring from the realms of men. He goes, we have our own concerns.
I would like to be of assistance if I can be.
He'll turn and look, and for the first time, he sees that you're not alone. He's kind of to his sideways to you. Now he turns fully with his armor, and he goes, to whom do you bring into my hall?
Powerful allies.
He looks, and he'll step forward, and he kind of eyes you up. He almost said, when he sees you, Celebrian, you can see his features soften a bit, but then they harden again, and he goes, we need no allies. Dwarves take care of their own. I am king under the mountain. We march to the redstone loads. But as he pauses, he'll say, if you wish to march with us, so be it.
Do we have anything that could support my friends here?
At this point, I will hold up Fenja. I believe you have already supplied me with something. And I'll just hold up the spear so that she can see it.
It is arms and armor that they seek. They may take whatever they wish from the armor, but we do not delay.
All right, we'll be right behind you.
And him and the dwarves start marching out.
I assume that they're taking the fastest, or a route that all of them can follow within, but I feel like the dwarves would have been smart enough to have small little passageways too for fast travel, especially amongst the help.
Probably, yep.
I will scurry around through those, telling everyone to follow me.
What about dinner? Says Omer.
We'll stop at the kitchen on the way, and you guys can stay there.
So the dwarves will march, led by King Durin. You will see that, you know what, Nain, he'll probably be joined by Nain as well, his son. I'll just grab his picture here. And they march down into the deep. You feel the heat from the deep earth, and the glowing red of the fires. So everyone in particular, I mean, the dwarves are kind of marching off. Fenja is moving along with them, but kind of paralleling them, taking shortcuts here and there. Is there any discussion on the long descent, or do you descend in quiet?
I feel like I'm descending in hurry.
Yep.
Yes. Our
That's
team is
my
like
main-
Team Hurry rather than Team Uniform March.
Yeah,
So-
like
Is Tilly coming with us?
She will join you, and she is like, Fenja, you don't know, you have no experience in the redstone mines. We should not do anything rash. The king has this in hand. He will save his brother. I assure you.
I just give her a pointed look. Just.
It will do your father no good to get yourself killed.
And it will do me no good to let him be killed.
Of course, but we have the numbers. We will prevail.
Against-
Speed.
Against unknown swarms of goblins and orcs. They weren't here when I left. How did they get in, Tilly? And I'm saying this while like hurrying along as fast as my stocky dwarven legs can carry me.
You know,
I imagine the way we're entering these mines. If you watch Fellowship of the Ring when they're all fleeing Khazad-Duhm, basically GIF reverse that GIF, and that's us running down the stairs.
That's right. Back and forth, in one door, another. Yeah. And Tilly is like, from what we know, the miners broke through into a natural cavern, and out from it poured orcs and rumors of worse things.
Worse things. And like her composure breaks for a second as she still scurries.
She just shrugs. Your father took a force over the Redstone Bridge, and was cut off. The orcs have blocked the way. In order to get to him, we need to break through. We will not be able to do that alone. We will need numbers. My father has hundreds of warriors with him. Have faith.
I don't suppose you've realized that I am currently traveling with an ancient elf and an ancient wizard and a warrior princess?
And she doesn't realize that in that moment. She is, and you get both your ankles get punched at the same time.
And 2 rabbits that are very fast and speedy and can have the time in any distance.
They'll both nod at that, and she says, I understand. I don't mean to be a barrier, cousin. I have seen the look on some of the warriors that made it back. I've never seen such fear. So you arrive at the bottom, into the kind of a junction, which is.
I was trying to like stop and get us some armor for everyone.
Oh yeah,
you can go as mithril weapons if that's available.
You can go to an armory. It is not readily available, normally available to just anyone. The mithril is reserved for, the stores are reserved for issue by the king only. So the person in charge of the armory was like, well, the king is not giving me any authorization to provide mithril weapons and armor. So how do you propose to get around this gatekeeper?
So if the king dies down there, we can blame that on you. Is that what I'm to understand?
Oh, well, That is rather an outrageous
I
claim.
believe the correct term, Fenja, is called regicide. It'll be regicide he has performed, indirectly, of course.
Is
And
that
if he and my father go, Tilly here will know that this was your fault, and she is heir to the throne if we lose Nain, Durin, and Borin.
Oh, I suppose. He looks around. Strange company you keep. He'll say.
As he says that, I just shoulder past him with impatience and just bust the door open.
All right. Inside, there are some mithril-tipped arrows. Mithril sword. They're all dwarven make. The armor, of course, is dwarven size, but there probably are not many items. Maybe they number in the dozen. But there would be a mithril shirt. The vault keeper, the armory keeper, he's extremely flustered, but he'll say, of course, everything must be returned, everything.
Right.
But you can gather up a few items. So I will say there is a mithril shirt, which would fit, well, obviously it would fit, given that it would fit a dwarf, it would probably fit any of you. The dwarf, it would be like a knee length shirt for a dwarf, but it'd be a waist length shirt for anyone else. But there was one. There are some mithril tipped arrows and some mithril blades, maybe some dagger sized blades, plus nothing, probably the equivalent of short swords. And how mithril works is that mithril armor doesn't count, essentially, against mithril weapons. And if you have a mithril shirt on, which one of you will, it means that you cannot be wounded at all. Your endurance can be reduced to 0, but you cannot be wounded.
I'm gonna throw the mithril shirt at Dania.
Okay.
As the supposed heir to all of that bullshit outside Khazad-Duhm.
All right, and then you are on your way. When you reach, so given the fact that you took the small shortcuts, this is the decision you're going to have to make, Fenja. You can hear the marching of the dwarves coming down the long, the great ramps. But when you arrive at the junction, the beginning of the redstone mines, you will have to decide whether or not you will wait for the king and his hundreds of soldiers, or whether or not you will cross this into the mines alone. And to say the least, Tilly is extremely fearful at this point. She's begging you to wait for the king.
All right, we'll wait, but you should not be down here any longer, Tilly, with both of the others coming.
She goes,
referring to her brother and dad.
Oh, she goes, and it dawns upon her, and she's like, but I would stand at your side. You know that.
I know that. But also, say the worst happens, you're the next in line.
All right. Good luck. And she will turn and scurry back into the tunnels on the way up. So you have maybe 10 minutes to wait as you hear the dwarves marching. The first ones arrive, the king, they start to take up formations. So during that 10 minutes, does anyone wish to do anything in particular?
As Tilly's leaving, I'm gonna be like, Omar, Dith, go with her, she'll take you to the kitchens.
They'll nod and scurry off, but they'll both pause and they'll go, will you be okay without us?
Sure.
Was that convincing? Did she sound convincing to you? No, she didn't. Anyway, we should do what she says. And they'll scurry off.
I am just donning this mithril shirt and readying myself, getting the spiral ready, limbering up.
and the rows of the king and the ranks of the dwarves in their heavy plate armor arrive. I'll just paste them here. And they form, so basically they form a line. You have to cross the redstone bridge, but they form a line on this side of the bridge, almost like a defensive formation. And the king, he has a couple of advisors around him. Your group is waiting, and the king will be like, "We hold the line here. We cannot allow the dwarves to get across the bridge until we have taken all of the mithril from the vaults. It is the most precious thing that we have. We need to get the mithril back to my hall.
Your people are the most precious thing you have."
He turns and he goes, "Who speaks?"
And I just step forward, just like full angry face.
And he looks towards you. You can see he's one hand is rubbing the ring of power, and he looks towards you and he goes, "Mithril is Moria. Mithril brings us power. Your father knows this. He would agree with my actions."
Then get the mithril yourself.
You can see that Nain is Nain is here. He's very uncomfortable. I got to bring him in, but you can see he's looking at you, looking at his father, and he is like, "Father, perhaps we should. The mithril would be more secure if we drive the orcs deeper into the mines." "The mithril will be secure when it is in my hall, when it is in my vaults, behind doors that cannot be breached by orcs. I cannot believe that I have to explain this to you. I am doing this for you. The mithril is your legacy, my son. Hold the line here until the mithril is safe." And you can see
Celebrian is going to just start walking forward, like through the ranks of the doors, just like deeper into the mine. She does not have time for.
Okay. You can see Celebrian, as you walk forward, Nain will actually, who is the king's son, he takes a step back and he goes, "My lady, if you go alone, you will die."
She's not alone. And I will step alongside her and then look at the king and be like, an elf will go into a mine when a king won't. And then just keep on walking by.
Okay.
And can I use I hope to echo my voice to be like, "Ooh," around the back.
I'm sick of his attitude.
Yeah, we'll obviously accompany.
And you can, and you start walking. Alatar, I assume you walk forward as well. And you step up onto the bridge. You can see that Nain, he looks at you, he looks at his father, and he'll say, "What you're doing is wrong, father. I go with them as well." And he fetches up his axe, and to your, perhaps to your horror, Fenja, you see that Durin didn't even hear his son. He just turns and he's focused on one thing, the mithril. As the dwarvish line stands firm, Nain, gripping his axe, walks forward to join your company. And you cross the bridge into the Red Lode mines. Ahead, the fires of the deep earth burn bright. So, do you have any, once you get across the bridge, do you have any particular, well, actually, you know what, you can cross the bridge. When you get to the other side, you can hear scurrying behind you. You don't have to go back, obviously, but let me see here now. So out of the deep chasm, once you pass the bridge, you realize your way is blocked, as scurrying up out of the chasm to block your way back are great spiders upon which are riding orcs. They don't pursue you. They just block your way. We are trapped, says Nate. And you're not sure of their numbers, but their numbers are great. Up ahead, in the distant caverns, you can hear the sounds of battle.
I will switch from my spear to my bow.
We are not trapped. We will dispatch them on our way back.
All right, so who's leading the way? Marching order doesn't really matter, but I'm curious as to who is leading the way.
I would be behind Fenja, and she knows where to go.
Before we cross, I want to say one last thing, not to the king, but to the generals standing nearby.
All of the dwarves that are watching this, yeah.
Yes. You're all cowards. And your brothers and sisters will die because of your inaction. And I'm hoping to play at their ego.
Yep.
The stubbornness of dwarves. I don't think any of them want to be called a coward ever. So I'm just going to insult all of them to their face in hopes that it will rally them to my cause. And
there's definitely, you hear the uneasy shifting of armor, glares towards the king, but they stand fast for now. Sounds of battle ahead.
They will live because of the heir's actions.
They might, but the people before us might not. And she'll just look down the tunnel into the red flames and the sounds of clanging battle.
So you race through the tunnels, and it's not once you go through the main tunnel, it's like a spider web of tunnels. There's all kinds of tunnels in every which way. It's a bit of a maze, but you naturally kind of know your way around. There are definite patterns that dwarves follow when they're doing mines, and you know them. You always turn right, then left, and left. And but as you draw nearer the sounds of battle, you come into a junction of sorts, off from which many corridors lead. There's also almost like a superstructure of bridges and ramps that are common throughout Khazad-Duhm. There is an area, there's a tunnel, which you can only assume as a dead end. Your father and the dwarves stand in it. It's a narrow tunnel, so they're able to defend it. As rallied against them are orcs, goblins, a great number of them, led by a relatively large orc, wielding a great mace. So you're kind of overlooking the scene. You come out onto like a rocky outcropping, of which those ramps kind of lead down to the chasm floor. You see the chasm is filled with goblins and orcs, and across the chasm is your father and the dwarves that remain, kind of backed into this narrow tunnel, where they are essentially fighting until they can't fight anymore. You can see Nain is greatly upset. You can see he just kind of, his face goes stern as he realizes that, his father has abandoned him.
How far off are they?
Let's say this cavern is about 200 feet across, and it has like let's say it has like a dozen corridors leading off at various heights. We'll say from floor to ceiling, it's a couple hundred feet as well. So the orcs and goblins are all gathered kind of at the far end and in the center. Their attention is focused on Fenja's father and the remaining dwarves, who are pushed back into this narrow corridor. So to some extent, their backs are towards you, but there are, if you know this lattice work of stone, there are goblin archers on it. There's a fair number. This is too many to essentially to basically say roll initiative. However, like I mentioned, there is this lattice work of stone structures, much like let's see, did I drag you over to the right? Yeah. Let me just put that up here so you can see it. Oh, and I did forget cave trolls. There will be a group of them.
Of course, there's cave trolls.
Casually left out the cave trolls.
Yeah. So look at this image here, and you can see. So you're up on this, looking down at the chasm below, but you have all of these, pillars and ramps, upon which there are some goblin archers, but most of the enemy are basically concentrating on the tunnel. At the kind of probably more at the rear is this great orc who is basically barking out commands. He's surrounded by some lackeys, but of more concern is the trolls have just arrived and they're being kind of gathered up to send them in. So what would you like to do?
Do we see any? If I'm looking at this scene, is there any possible opportunity, like if I were to perhaps shoot an arrow into, try and get their line to break so that the dwarves could make it through towards us, or if we had a wizard capable of firing a spell, perhaps bring down some stonework into some of the...
You have make a very valid point. So what you do need to do is somehow scatter the orcs.
Yeah.
The thing which I will point out is, being a mine, if you remember The Hobbit, how there were all the cranes and pulleys and ropes and machines. The cavern is full of those. This is a mine, right? So there's probably even a conveyor belt type system to remove ore. So there's all of this equipment as well.
I would like to, before we start using our own capabilities to fight them, I would like to use my virtue of dwarves.
Okay.
That I have, which is the Barak Khazad. I'm just intentionally going to try to intimidate the orcs and goblins to believe that there are more dwarves coming behind us as they hear the dwarven rallying cry of Barak Khazud Amenu, and just scream that from the top, just bellowing across the mines, knowing that my voice will carry.
Very cool. So as you cry out and your voice echoes through the cavern, you'll see that the great orc will turn and he barks out orders in the speech of Mordor, and the orcs suddenly they divide their numbers. Kind of the front group stays focused on keeping the dwarves in the cavern, but I'll say 2/3 of the orcs switch positions. They're now turning to face you and marching back in your direction to face the corridors that lead into Khazad-Duhm, from which they expect hundreds of dwarves to be pouring through at any moment.
Yes. And I'm also yelling it to inspire the dwarves that are down there to fight still, to have that fighting spirit.
Your father will look up across the chasm, and your eyes will meet.
Just angry, wet eyes as I just scream at these orcs and goblins.
All right. So they turn. The orcs are at the ready. You know that your ruse, after a couple of minutes, they're going to start wondering where the dwarves are. What next?
I'm just going to speak to the party, just saying we need to create an opportunity for them to break through to us. I am meanwhile going to get ready to start taking out any perched up goblins and orcs or whatever that are in an archer type position.
They're scrambling along the stonework. So Alatar, what's your Celebrian? What is your what is going through your minds as you view this situation?
Celebrian is going to be looking around just at all of the stairs and, any natural stone outcroppings, and realizing very quickly that she does not know things about caves. She is going to lean over to Fenja and say, "Is there anything we can collapse upon them?"
Good, very good point. So all of this, if you remember Fellowship of the Rings, all these kind of huge ramps and stoneworks appeared to be very collapsible, at least in the Fellowship of the Ring. So that's an option. You could cause one of the great stone pillars to collapse if you had a way to sunder it. But there are cranes. Probably, there might even be a. We'll say that there might even be a crane which has a large net filled with rubble hanging from it. There could be a couple of different things like that.
I'm liking the idea of a big old gust of wind.
So you think you're going to try and take down one of these pillars with wind? That you're
or to blow them off the pillars of wind.
Oh, to blow off the you mean the goblins and orcs?
Yeah,
yeah, because they will. Because I assume you guys are not. Are you hiding yourselves or you're not?
I think upon initially entering this, we're like creeping in.
Yeah. Okay. Because below Graz is definitely all the orcs are scanning the stonework, looking for the dwarves, and he'll actually cry out an answering challenge. So there's no initiative in this game. Just a reminder, players get to go first. So before the orcs get to do anything, you get to do something. So just feel free. Again, no particular order.
I feel very much in a position where I've got my bow.
Okay. So
I'm gonna start paying attention to any goblins or orcs that could be in an archer type position and take them out.
So goblin archers are moving along the stonework, and if you remember Fellowship of the Ring, they can crawl kind of up along the stone. They're moving in on your position.
Yeah. I'm gonna just start taking them out.
Okay.
Just firing
so
one after the other.
You can. So just give me let's just see how generally you do. Give me a bow roll.
Okay.
Now, don't forget, you can use hope if you wish. And your hope. Oh, sorry. I should say all of your hope. I'll give you 3 hope from the rest at Fornost. And you're going to roll a die 12 plus a number of d6. And you want to get higher than your TN value for strength.
So 15.
Yeah, that's a good enough number. So
Okay.
Dania steps forward, and the goblins are climbing up the pillars towards your position, and you're kind of just one arrow after another. You're firing enough that you'll hit one, it will fall off, but you're keeping them at bay momentarily. Celebrian, what would you like to do?
Celebrian is still, looking expectantly at Fenja, hoping to be pointed out any particular collapsible things.
Oh yeah, Fenya's just pointing out things that are definitely weaker here, stuff that's newer, stuff that's real old, but also relying a bit on Nain for that too, because she hasn't spent as much time mining as she has crafting.
So Nain takes up position on a ramp to prevent anyone from getting to your platform, but he will say, he'll point to one pillar and he will say, "That is new. The mortar will not have been set." But he would not have the power himself to topple it. He goes, But we do not possess the strength of giants. How can we topple stone?
In response, Celebrian's just going to pull out an arrow and set it to her bow and look really hard and say, where would be the most structurally weak part of it?
He points. You follow his direction. And I'm assuming you're going to spend a hope to make this a magical.
Yeah, I'm going to be an elf at it.
Yeah, you pull
Be an elf at it.
Pull a legless. You stand on your head, or fire the arrow upside down. So go ahead. So basically, just a reminder: whenever you use hope as an elf to use magic, it is obvious to everyone who witnesses it that it's magic. So feel free to describe as you fire this arrow at one of the stone pillars.
So the arrow just shoots through the air almost invisibly through all of this chaos. And for a moment, it just like strikes the structure and like sticks there for a moment. And it looks like nothing's happened. And then with, a delayed groan, there's just like this spider webbing of cracks throughout the mortar, and the pillar starts toppling over backwards.
And the base comes out from underneath it, and the pillar begins to topple towards the orcs. Alatar.
I'm going to hold for now.
Okay.
Celebrian seems to have done some serious damage. There's none climbing up towards where we are.
They are climbing up toward. So the goblin archers are trying to move in on your position right now. Right now, Dania is picking them off, but there are others. Again, the number of orcs and goblins here is in the hundreds. So is
she on the edge shooting down at them as they're crawling up to us?
Right. Yep.
Okay, then I will walk up to the edge.
Yep.
I will just rub my finger on my ring to be wield up a sacred flame for a moment, and I'm going to plant with both hands my staff into the stone, and I want the surface of the rock face they're climbing up to just really start to exude the heat of the mountain, and I want to make it unbearably hot. I am serious enough about this, but I will pop 3 hope to just sear the entire wall.
So the stone itself turns red. It's not quite enough to melt it, but it all of a sudden, kind of like when you hit your staff upon the rock, flame kind of spreads out into the stone, is absorbed by the stone, and it turns red. As the goblins start to climb, you can hear their screeches as they let go and plummet to the ground below. Again, keeping your group safe for the moment. All right, Fenja. The pillar falls forward as the orcs scurry and scramble. What would you like to do?
I'm going to just charge into battle and do what I can to clear a path for my father and his company to come back through.
There's a bunch of pulley systems and ropes and stuff like that. You could actually kind of zip line if you wanted to across towards where your father is, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. Okay. And then I will just look to Dania and Celebrian before I go down.
I'm just gonna cover you.
Thank you.
Actually, to be cinematic, what would be really cool is you zip line out as the pillar is falling, and you kind of, as it's landing down, you land on top of the pillar as it crushes scores of orcs beneath it. They scatter. Dust flies out in all directions, obscuring the vision. You can hear your father. He kind of gives out the same kind of war cry.
Yes. I as it slams into the ground, I would definitely like to scream at the bottom, just the Barak Khazad, to get them inspired and the people ready. But I also want to try to intimidate the shit out of all these orcs and goblins nearby.
Okay, give me a roll, please. I guess intimidation. I guess that's all right. So, go ahead.
God, I hope so. Where did that other D12 go? I don't know. Oh, it's in my hand. Okay, I'm losing my marbles.
It's dice, not marbles.
I don't need your sass right now. I'm stressed. 5, 3, 1 on those D6s, and then that's an 11. Is 11 bad?
It is. It's
Fuck.
the Mordor. So the orcs and goblins around you scatter, but
Wait, can I take the lower of the two? Because it was favored, so technically the better one of the two.
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the
Phzoul's
6
like, I want to
instead.
summon a barrel roll.
I actually don't know whether or not I have Mordor trumps it, but if I go by D&D rules, that's favored win. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, so 6 plus 5, 3, 1, 9, 15 total.
So the pillar is scary enough, but this dwarven warrior on top of it screaming as it comes down. The orcs scatter as the dust goes off in all directions, but striding through the dust is one orc that a 15 just simply will not do, as Graz climbs up onto the pillar opposite you and gives out his own war cry as he brings his I don't show what he has, but he has 2 wickedly curved blades that he intends to bring against you.
Just to be sure, does he have both of his eyes?
Let's make his
Because this might be a relevant question.
He does not have both of his eyes. No, he doesn't. Looks like he has a helmet over it. Yeah.
Sneaky look over towards Dania's spear.
Just gonna, yep.
So he cries out. So that first round, I'll give it to you. There'll be no kind of retaliation. But as the orcs are scattered, Graz cries out his roar cry. One of the things that those of you on the network of ramps will notice is that the trolls are charging the ramps. Some of them are scurrying, or it's a zig that they have to do. It's kind of like Mario. It's actually just like Mario Brothers. They're going to be not Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong. They're going to be running up these ramps, trying to reach your platform. There will be some arrows coming your. In fact, goblin archers from around the cavern will be sending scores of arrows.
We are, in fact, in the dwarven version of Goblin Town.
That's right. Yeah, there you are. But the trolls. So half of them start running up. The other half start slamming. For some reason, again, trolls are dim-witted. They start trying to smash the pillar. They start trying to bring the pillar upon which you're standing down. But as characters, you get to go first. So last round was a freebie. This round there will be answers to your attack if anyone's left standing. However, this has scattered the orcs, and Fenja's father and the other dwarves are pushing their way forward. All right, who wants to go first?
If those trolls look like they're making it up towards us, I know my bow is going to start to have very limited effect on their tough skin. So I'm very much going to look at Alatar. Yep.
Well, here's a question. Did you take any of the mithril arrows?
If no one else did.
I would have aggressively passed them off to both Dania and Celebrian.
We were told we had to return everything. I'm not sure I want to go and retrieve mithril tipped arrowheads from wherever they went.
I assumed he was speaking about,
the returnables.
Shirt. Yeah, the returnables.
Yep. So it's complete. If you took them, you took them. That's up to you. Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take them.
That means
how many were there available for the taking?
I'm going to say there were a dozen. So you have 6 each. So a mithril arrow would pass through one side of a troll and out the other.
I am going to use all of those mithril arrows on the trolls then.
So a troll, one of the trolls, so there's a lead troll. He's charging up the ramp, trying to reach your position. You can go ahead and give me an arrow roll. Just remember, just as a reminder for combat, and I know there's a little bit to keep track of here, but sixes are going to be important, but also not only is the Gandalf important, but if you get a 10, that's considered a penetrating wound. So just a 10 or a Gandalf. So just remember that. So go ahead.
A
Fenja.
9.
A 9. Very nice. So what did you get in total? I assumed you got over
The
your...
9 in total. I got a 4 on the D12 and then a 2 and a 3 on the 2D6s.
A 9 in total. Yeah, you know what? You got a 9 on the D12?
No, a 4 on the D12.
Because it's mithril arrows, I'm going to give you advantage on the D12, so you can roll.
I will take that advantage. Yes.
Watch it be an 11.
12 total. I got a 7 on the D12 and then a 4 and a 1 on the 2D6s.
So your arrow flies from your bow. It goes right through the troll and will stick into the stone ramp behind him, but that doesn't appear to slow the troll down as he's still charging up the ramp. Celebrian or Alatar?
I am going to attempt to see if Celebrian will let me explode her arrow.
Celebrian has no objections.
All right. So who's your target?
I'm going to wait until it looks like there is an opportunity to maybe hit 2 trolls with 1 arrow.
Oh, so you want to, so as one rounds the ramp, another one rounds behind it, so you're going to try and shoot right through the 2 of them. That's a really nice idea, because the mithril arrow will just keep going. So go ahead, make your roll to hit. I'll give you advantages as well, only because mithril and the troll can't go anywhere. It's coming straight up a ramp at you.
All right, here goes. That is a 21 total.
Oh, nice hit. So what are you going to do, Alatar? So the arrow passes through the first troll into the second.
Is there anything behind the second troll? I'll explode it when it's leaving the second troll.
As it's leaving the second troll.
Yeah.
All right. How many points of hope you spending on this?
Just for one. Let's not go crazy. I just melted a mountain for Phzoul. I can't.
Did you get any? Did you get any 6s, Celebrian, on the attack?
I did not.
Did not. Okay.
Was there anything behind the second troll when you exploded the arrow?
Probably not at the moment. There are trolls kind of clambering up, but there would have only been two together. However, as the explosion, so the arrow goes through the first troll, and he tries to, and it just disappears inside him. So he actually thinks that the arrow went inside him. So he staggers and stumbles as he tries to tear at his wound to get it out. The second troll runs into the first troll, and then the explosion occurs. Here's what we'll do. If you could roll a D12, two of you roll a D12 for me, if you get if you get a 10 or higher, the troll doesn't fall off the ramp. But 9 or less, the troll will lose its footing.
I got a 1.
Which one's the bad one again?
Mordor 11.
Yeah, I rolled an 8. It looks
Never
like
mind,
Luca...
I didn't roll.
Okay, all right. So there was
Take Alatar and Celebrian's rolls.
So both trolls stagger forward. The explosion goes off, and it probably causes. I won't say it causes the ramp to collapse, but it causes a crack in the stone, and both trolls will kind of stagger and tumble off the ramp, falling to the floor below. Fenja.
I want to run up onto this ugly motherfucker that is on this pillar with me now, with my mithril sword in one hand and my long-hafted axe in the other, and just
Nice.
just
Okay.
attack the shit out of it, going for his one ugly eye.
Are you using the mithril sword that was supposed to be the gift?
I know she is. She kept it for herself. Yeah. There is a remind me. There's a shadow test. There's a shadow test for greed. No, I'm just.
My shadow stuff is the lure of secrets.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right.
Lost
Yeah.
knowledge.
You've kept the sword. Yeah.
I did because I'm an asshole.
I can just imagine just like pulling out and using it like in front of your father, the king's brother, and everybody who is with him. And
I'm trying to inspire my fellow dwarves with a beautiful sword and my amazing skill. 10 on the D12, and then 5, 6, 6.
Oh, very. You got
17 plus 10, 27.
Yeah. So take your base damage, and then you're going to add your strength twice to it. So your strength value. What's your strength value?
7.
7. So that's 14. What's the base damage for your mithril blade? Did I give that to you?
I just have sword written in here with 4.
4. All right. So 14. Jesus, that's 18. That's 18 points. Plus you got a 10, which is a piercing blow. So piercing blows have a chance to kill immediately. But this is a great orc. He can actually take 2 piercing blows before he goes down, but this is a grievous wound. He cries out in rage as you strike him, but it's not enough to bring him down. You're fighting the equivalent of a Zog right here. He's like, he is a great orc of the mountains.
I'm just doing my best.
All right, did I get everybody?
Yes.
The orcs charge, the dwarves with renewed, they charge out into the orcs, making their way towards the ramp. The Graz comes forward, grievously wounded, but he doesn't care. He'll give his life to end yours. He use some hate? I think he might use some hate.
Oh, jeez.
All right, he's going to use horrible strength. All right. Here we go. Let's see. What's your parry, please?
Where is parry? 14.
14. All right. So shoot. I apologize. So here's the deal. So he comes forward with all his malice, all his hate, and he strikes out with both of his curved swords. You bring the mithril blade up, and as two of the blades hit, his blade shatters. It just shatters into pieces. But as you feel that sense of triumph when all of a sudden you feel the sting of his second blade cut into your side. I actually rolled Eye of Mordor, unfortunately.
Is that good for him?
That's good for the bad guys.
It's very good for him.
Perfect.
So you're gonna
rad.
take.
Awesome.
So it's a pretty damaging wound. You're going to take. What is that? Where's my thing here? Oh, you're going to take 10 damage. Oh, sorry. You're going to take 12 damage to your endurance. Now you have a pretty good. What's your endurance? Probably in the mid 20s.
29.
29. Yeah. So not too
Do my
bad.
bracers do anything in this instance that have advantage
So
on
here's
rolls
the
against
deal.
being wounded?
You're going to have to. He did strike a grievous wound,
Okay.
a penetrating wound. So you're going to have to make an armor roll to essentially resist it. So what do you have under armor?
A bunch.
So you're gonna roll a die 12. What's your protection value?
I think 4.
Okay, so you're gonna roll a die 12 plus 4 die 6. But here's the deal: because he spent hate, your roll is ill-favored, which means you're gonna roll 2 die 12 and take the lowest.
That's not bad. It was an 8 and a 10.
Oh, nice roll.
So 8 plus 2 plus 2 plus 6. 8 plus 10, 18.
18. So his blade strikes true. You feel it cut deep, but you needed an 18 exactly in order to not suffer a grievous wound. So you pull through it unscathed. At the same time, those of you up on the ramp, archers. So basically, I'm just going to make one roll for each of you, as like dozens of arrows are basically just being fired. They're kind of ricocheting off the stone, but we'll see what happens here. So Dania, this is what's your parry?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. Hold on just a sec.
Oh, sorry. Yep, just on your. It should be on your character
My
sheet.
parry. Where do I see that again?
Oh, it should be by your attribute for.
It's right under wits.
Right
under
wits.
wits. Oh, okay. 18. Oh wait,
18.
but I am wearing a mithril shirt.
But yeah, so the mithril shirt doesn't add to your parry. Essentially, what it means is that what I just did to Fenja can't happen to you. You can't be wounded. So there's no. So that means you can't be killed. You can be beaten into unconsciousness or knocked unconscious, but you cannot suffer any wounds. And just remember, endurance isn't really wounds. It's just growing weary through the battle. So I don't think I didn't get an 18 anyway. So the arrow just ricochet around you. Alatar, what's your parry?
17.
17, 10. So that is unfortunately a hit. It's not a penetrating wound, but you'll just take some endurance damage. Again, nothing too serious. But they will do, let's see, 4 minor, 4 damage. 4 endurance. Celebrian, your parry?
19.
Yeah, no chance. You're basically doing your elven stuff. You're probably doing pirouettes and backflips. No, anyway, but the arrows are ringing around, and essentially you're probably just fluidly, like it's almost like remember 300, like arrows are just kind of raining in, and it's almost like they're moving in slow motion to you, and you're just kind of stepping between them as they kind of wisp past you in slow motion. Okay, on the next round, Fenja, I am going to ask you to make a roll for something that you did before you even arrived here. The speech that you made to the generals. Could you please give me an awe roll? This is an important one.
So 9 plus 6 plus 6 plus 5 plus 2. 6, 6, 5, 7, 19 plus 9, 28.
Are you serious?
That's my best roll of the night, everybody.
To be honest, I was going to kill your father, but I'm not now.
Oh wait, one of those die should be removed. I only had 3 and I rolled 4 by accident. You can remove one of the 6s of that.
Oh, say goodbye to your father now.
Oh, but you're still well above 20, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give him a bruise. No. So nothing's going to happen right now, but on this one more round. So Dania, do you want to loose some arrows. You can see the dwarves are fighting their way through the
Where
orc.
is Graz right now?
You can see he's standing toe to toe against Fenja. So Fenja is actually on this pillar, which is collapsed on its side. Her father and the other dwarves have pushed past. They're fighting their way to the ramp. But you can see Fenja is at risk of being cut off, left behind.
Yeah, how far, like, in terms of distance for me? Can I make it to them?
There's the pulleys all over the place. You want to do a zip line down? Sure. Basically, you're just going to grab onto a pulley and right down onto the pillar.
Only if you do that noise again.
Honestly, what I would love to do is take a pulley down to where I'm still up a little bit above them.
Yep. Just another level of the platforms. Yep.
I would like to just take aim with my spear directly at Graz and throw it.
Okay, go ahead. Give me the throw.
I am aiming for his remaining eye.
You guys are mean.
What?
We go for the symbolic resonances, is what we do.
It's not good enough that you just take him down. You got to get him in the eye. Come on.
It's a soft jelly spot.
I got a 16, a 6 on my D12, and then a 6 and a 4.
Oh, that's cool. Yep, that's great. So the spear hurls through the air. You can see that Graz is, his foul teeth and breath. He's like, as he's trying to pull his sword out and strike again. Or all of a sudden, a spear hits him from behind. Did you get any 6s on that roll? And any of those rolls?
Yes.
Okay.
I got a 6 and a 4.
Okay.
Well, and the D12 was a 6.
Yeah, so D12 doesn't count towards that, but the D6 do. So essentially, what's your strength value?
My strength value is definitely something I know. My strength value is 3.
3? Okay.
3.
Yep. So the spear lands true, causes Graz to topple forward. But this is a great, it actually goes right through him. So Fenja, you can see the spearhead kind of come out through his stomach. But Graz doesn't care. He's been wounded like this before and survived. He's going to take you down with him. But it's we'll save you for the end, Celebrian. So I'm going to point something out to you. So you have the orc archers all firing around. You'll note 2 things. One of the trolls has spotted Dania on the lower platform and is moving towards her. And one of the corridors, the largest corridor, the red glow is beginning to intensify.
Oh dear. Celebrian will ask Nain if he's still here.
Yeah, he's actually protecting the ramp.
She will point to that corridor where the glow is intensifying and say, "Do you see any easy way to collapse that one?"
He goes, the support beams, my lady. But again, he goes, I should not question you. But then he points, he goes, but there are 3 that would have to be felled.
I can work with that. I will take out one of the arrows, not one of the mithril ones.
Okay.
And aim towards. I assume that they're not lined up neatly in a line.
I'll give you this. You can move out onto the platform, further onto the platform, and get a line up on them. But you're exposed, so it'll be easier for the orc archers to hit you. But that's up to you, whether you want to do that trade-off.
Celebrian will lean over to Alatar and say, "Could you help guide my arrow to all 3 of those supports from here?"
I fear what may be lurking on the other side.
I normally use 1 hope for this, DM. Were I to use 3 hope, could we do this in a single round, either with the arrow coming back?
Yeah, if you use 3 hope, then the arrow will fly through all 3 pillars.
What are we at, hope usage-wise?
This will take me to 11, because we got it back, and then I've done, this will be my second, no, sorry, 10, because I used 1 to speak to Hurin before.
And just a reminder to the group, in addition to losing hope, anytime the magic is used, the Eye of Angmar score goes up.
You're about to throw a Balrog at us, so how could it get any worse?
Why would you say
Or
that?
that could, like, wait, you know, for another, like, 2 decades. That would be nice.
The arrow fires from Celebrian's bow, and you're using magic, I assume, Celebrian?
Yes.
And Alatar, do you want to describe how the arrow manages to take down these 3 support beams?
When Celebrian looses it for a moment, it actually stops just a few inches in front of her, and it kind of waits for a moment. You see it start to glow a bit brighter and brighter and shake a bit, and then it takes off again with increased velocity, and it actually just goes through the first one. There's a pause for a moment, a burst of stone as it comes back towards us from the other side, and then it goes through one more time.
And the tunnel
before landing safely at Celebrian's feet.
And the tunnel collapses, sealing off the reddish glow, returning the cavern to semi-darkness. Fenja, you'll actually, you know what Graz will do as the spear goes through him. He grabs the front of it and pulls it out the rest of the way, and he's going to try and impale you with it, but you get to go first.
Excellent. Since I am shorter than them in stature, as they lift it up, I'm going to stab up under into the soft tissue right here that's definitely exposed right now because we don't armor our armpits.
That's right. That's where armor is weak. So go ahead, give me a strike.
Sorry, what is this? I hate fancy dice sometimes. That's a 7 on the D12. And then 5, 3, 3. 7 plus 11, 18.
Good hit. Any 6s?
No.
Okay. So you'll do the base damage for your weapon, which is what? Sorry? Sword?
4.
4. So again, you drive your sword up in the grass. He cries out in rage, and he is going to try. You know what? He probably can't get the spear completely through himself. He's trying to, but he'll swing with his sword, and as he does, his arm will come off as your father is right there at your side with his axe, and he takes Graz's arm off and then gives him a kick. And in this moment, thanks to your amazing roll, because it was not the default is that Durin and his dwarves do not come to the rescue, but suddenly you hear the cry that you gave out to start this conflict as dozens and dozens and dozens of dwarves start pouring out of the tunnels, charging into the orcs, driving them back. They have the tunnel that leads to their lair has been collapsed. They have nowhere to go, now they are the ones pushed back into dead ends as the dwarves just cut them down one after another. Your father takes you by the arm and moves you towards the ramps, and as you look up, you can see a smile crosses his face as Durin himself strides into the cavern and joins the fight. And you see Nain looks at you and he nods, like, you can see the look of relief on his face that his father, in the end, did the right thing.
Sure, I'm gonna get a talking to about my actions later, but right now I feel very proud. And I'm proud of my king for showing up.
And as the orcs... Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I would have hopped down to where that was and grabbed the spear and followed with her.
You can...
I would have taken the spear with, so that way you didn't have to come down all the way.
And the orcs, or the dwarves, secure the cavern. And once it's secured, and the dust has settled, you can feel... Do you remember the tremors that they spoke of?
Mm-hmm.
You feel that tremor run through the very stone, and the rocks on that sealed corridor begins to tumble and crack, and the red glow begins to shine through. Durin turns. He'll actually go through the crowd to find you in particular, and you can see there's tears running down his cheek, and he'll say, "Can you forgive me?"
I just waddle up to him and give him a big, firm, excessively firm hug, because I finally feel like he's beaten his own curse.
Nain, return with Fenja to the Great Hall. Whatever it is that you have come to ask of me, the answer is yes. And he will take his ring off and hand it to his son, and he will say, "Now go and collapse the bridge behind you. I will see to this devilry. Go. I have been a coward for far too long."
You're not coming with us?
No. I have been consumed by fire and he says, "My thoughts have been consumed by fire and shadow. I would see them freed before they overtake, before I am lost to them again. I will die a dwarf, a king. Go."
I'm going to be strong for Nain and start dragging Nain up the stairs.
Tremor goes through the stone as the corridor begins to collapse, and every single one of his soldiers stands with him, except for the ones that he assigns. Except for your father and his soldiers are the ones to escort Nain back to the hall. And he goes to your father and he goes, "Brother, collapse the bridge. Khazad-Duhm must be saved." And he just nods, and they will be and they begin to leave the cavern. And that's where we'll end for tonight. Sorry, ran a little bit longer there, but yeah. So we'll leave it at that for now.
Poor Fenja, whose rousing speech translates directly into blood on her hands.
Oh, did I?
It's like, "You did such a good speech," and they all died.
But then again, Fenya's speech earlier also meant that Dania didn't have to marry Prince Douche. So
I know tonight it's been these speeches, how I had this set up is that they would not. You would have had to fight your way back to the bridge. But consumed by the mithril. So here's the thing: Durin the Sixth is supposed to die here. I mean that's his destiny. He is slain at this moment in the lore. But the question is, would he die? Was he going to die a hero or a coward? So if you had not made that speech, he would have died groveling over the mithril, trying to protect it. Right? But instead, He's
he
dying.
has an honorable death.
Okay, so that's anyway. Thank you, chat, for attending. So and watching, and thank you, cast. That was amazing. So I guess maybe we'll go around and everybody can say what they're up to, what's going on, and then I'll see us off.
Me?
Sure.
Hi. I'm Lukalock. I played Dania of Arthdane tonight, and I am off for the next few days. And the next time I am streaming will actually be the premiere of the Demi-Planes of Dread campaign named Fragments, run by Harrison over on Nat 20's channel. And then I am back with more Dark Echoes, my Curse of Strahd campaign on the 29th. And then here again on the... Oh, and then we have House of Lament on Harrison's stream, Winterhold's Finest on TPK, Roleplay, and then here again after that for more Lord of the Rings. Over, down, where are we going?
Might as well go down. So go to
Corndog.
Hello, it's me, Corndog. Oh, I'm gonna have feelings about this for a few days. You can catch me here again on Thursday the 27th, where I will be fighting dragons again. My whole brain is just in a fuzz. And then see me here in 2 weeks.
Awesome.
Are we going up diagonal or over to me? To me, I
Harrison.
guess. Hi, yes, thank you. I'm Harrison. I played Alatar the Blue. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube at Harrison_stream. I will be running the Fragments Demi-Planes campaign that Luca mentioned over on Nat 20, starting on the 25th. My last campaign ran for 3 years weekly. I'm hoping to do the same with this, or maybe 2 years instead of 3. And then I'm doing House of Lament over on my channel 2 weeks today. I'm also working on the Kickstarter for our magazine, Crucible Magazine, which is a 5e supplement with online Foundry features and class features and all sorts. The Kickstarter for that goes live on the 15th of February. You can check it out at cruciblemag.com. Up to Kaiya.
Hello, I am Kaiya, and I played Celebrian today. I am actually not streaming anything for quite a while, which is a weird feeling. I will, of course, be here again in 2 weeks, and I hear tell that maybe Twice Bitten will be coming back as well in February, once we have all recovered from holiday shenanigans and scheduling snafus. However, I did recently release my first micro RPG called Her Odyssey. It is based on the Caltrop core system, which means that you can create an epic story with nothing more than just a handful of d4s and a deck of normal playing cards. In addition, I have just today started an initiative which is probably going to take up a lot more time than I thought it would, which is to listen to and live tweet the first episode of a bunch of TTRPG related podcasts. So if there is a podcast that you are on that you would like my very lightly filtered thoughts on, let me know. Probably the best place is through my Twitter, which is Rahab_Acatriel. I'm not going to try to spell that right now, but you can find me and my thoughts on all sorts of things there.
Thank you, and thanks again, cast. Amazing. And thanks to chat. It's the community overall that makes this awesome, makes it fun to do. So I'm Phzoul. I will be back in 2 weeks with the next episode of Shadow Over Arnor, where we will see where the Eagles take us. But bye for now. Stay safe.